send you out.
Absolutely not. The stage is set. The players are locked in. The lobby is loading. Gentlemen, have a wonderful day.
I really appreciate it, my friend. We are so pumped to get into the map. Folks, the first map, Resurgence, Call of Duty Warzone, is here. We've dropped, and Hisoka, first player we're hopping in on.
He's dropping in, grabbing some of these guns, and looking to start moving on. And already we have Skullface on top of Loss, and this might be just a very, very quick early elimination. And yeah, well, when you got a level 5 Superior in hand right off the rip, you're going to be able to do some damage.
Yeah, I think, Dan, a fun conversation point, especially with the litmus test that is today, is how fast can you get loot, how fast can you get your loadout, and then how fast can you find eliminations. It is obvious Skullface is one of the top individual solo players. We talk about that player all the time, but a lot of these players are going to go all out to try to get early kills, just like Levi here. Catches the player unaware, gets the first blood.
Having an AMR, you're able to do that, but J-Tech not too far away either. We knew that this was going to kick off spicy, and that is exactly what is happening. Everybody looking to get into those early engagements, make it on happen. You mentioned how fast can you get your loadout and start moving. Let's remind everybody, we have these loadout crates on the map. You'll be able to hit those. You're just immediately grabbing those loadout guns, and if any of these players find them, they're going to be looking to get active.
Yeah, Skull already on 2 here is a huge win, especially on the outskirts of this map. They're on the far side of docks, getting shot at from several angles, but does have a play. Ooh. Has a self-res, should be fine maybe here in the water if he doesn't get caught.
Not.
Yeah, it's my bad. 4NJs cleans him up. Now, quick reminder at home. Dan, break me down how Solos works in Resurgence if you haven't played it before.
Sure. If you haven't dropped into Solos Resurgence, you do still have that Resurgence timer, right? But if you do get taken out, you will be able to come back on in, and you have a little bit of a timer until that Resurgence can come back on in. So you can't just, get taken out and fly back in on the map and start just trying to keep it going. You do have to kind of play your life a little bit.
Yeah, that's right. You have a timer once you fly back in. Once that timer is up, that means you then have Resurgence active again. So it's a fun kind of different aspect to Solos. If you've been playing a lot of trios or quads at home, I know a lot of people are fans of Resurgence, specifically Rebirth Island. I love that this map is back, and we get to have a chance to have an incredible tournament on it. But several kills flying through. You can look at the kill feed on the left-hand side. This is our amazing Codcaster, by the way. The first time we've ever seen it on Rebirth Island. She's so beautiful.
It's absolutely. It's my first time even being able to use it at all, so I am super excited. We get to see all these players who are about to go into engagements like right now, where Rodrigo was trying to play on top of Bio, but Tommy is laying in wait. Gets a nice little couple shots in, gonna force him to go off as he just kind of maybe waits to play some of these staircases, tries to take the engagement from a different angle.
All kills all day, baby. We've got 40 out of 42 individual players still left in this lobby, so it looks like most players pretty comfortable with the opportunity to come back into the game. That's Resurgence. That's how it's played. 2 players were eliminated quickly after they respawned, which means they cannot get back onto this map. Now, Hisoka, we asked him, was he going to be the top slayer on his team in the individual? Well, here's his first kill on your screen. Nice and easy. Up the zip we go, and down goes a player. He said, no, it's not going to be me. It's going to be Shifty, or it's going to be Biffle, likely Biffle. He's the IGL, but he certainly can slay. If I remember correctly, I think he was a top slayer in the last competition I cast.
Correct, yeah. He was definitely top of the leaderboard when it came to. He's a very humble player, right? Like, yeah, I'm just the IGL, man. I don't have to be able to be a top slayer. It's A-okay. But as we go across the map over towards tents, we do see Huskers get taken out. And not only is he taken out, that's a full squad wipe.
Yeah, if you see squad wipe, I believe that means they are like out of here. So Huskers' first game, I believe that's 0 for the man, and it looks like he went out maybe 3rd overall on the map. Now, got another map to go inside of this group competition. This is Group A versus Group B. We'll play 2 games here, and then Group A will play Group C. So we're just going to get everybody playing each other, going to see all the different fights that can happen, which players tend to land in certain areas and fight other players. I think at this point, though, it's kind of just a mad dash around the map, find kills without dying. It's kind of the nature of the game in Call of Duty.
Yeah, map number 1, all about just trying to get your feet wet on this map. You can see Aiden trying to be able to take the advantage to Limax, but Limax kind of goes away, finds another one. Aiden hot on the heels, though. Not going to let him have that much success for that long. Limax, you're getting put back into the Resurgence timer. Aiden looking to hold down the tents area and make some moves.
Yeah, I think a key note here in solos, 3rd party, 4th party, 5th party. I mean, go find 2 people that are fighting and take down a weak opponent. That is the key to the game. You can see one about to fall here. No problem for Hard Traps on 4, by the way. Pretty early in this game. Pretty impressive as we take a quick look at the map. very centrally located. Big question will be, where does the next zone pull to? These zones are very quick in Resurgence. These games are fast. A 14-minute game time, all right? So don't blink too many times. You're going to miss too much action. Things are about to get real spicy real quick.
I love that you bring up the zone because, you know, when we're playing a big map, yeah, you're trying to read where the zone's pulling and stuff. Rebirth, you're kind of just going with the flow, baby. There's really no way to kind of tell where that zone is going to pull. It's going to pull far left. It's going to pull far right. You have to just be able to think on your feet and adapt.
Yeah, speaking of thinking on your feet, I think a lot of these players had to load out weapons, maybe died, then came back because of the resurgence timer, and maybe couldn't land on their loot because it was a little too sketchy. But I was going to ask, Dan, I really do think snipers are going to have a play here, whether it's the Kar 98, maybe it's a Morris, maybe it's a different sniper, the Cat, for instance, especially in solos where they can one-shot, headshot. I mean, these could be an incredible value add. I know some of these players, and Jace talked about it, so this makes sense. Take high ground, shoot the ducks out of the air. I mean, come on, why not? Let's get some free kills.
Yeah, that's something we've seen a lot in past Resurgence tournaments, right? Is these players who are able to kind of hold height, and you're just taking down people coming off of Resurgence. It's free eliminations. I know we did just have that touch up to the car right before the Esports World Cup, but realistically, you just have to hit your shots with it now, and that's all that really matters. And we have the best of the best players here. It's going to not be a good challenge, but oh my God!
Wait a minute. We're just yapping. I look down. Is that 10 Z-Smith on 10?
Double digit.
10 kills already, make it 11, no problem at all. Z-Smith said, hey, Coach, I was looking for an interview from you, and you didn't get me during media day. What's going on? I was like, hey, just go win your games. Go win your ones, and don't worry, we'll talk more later. Apparently, that's going to be the case. My goodness, 11 in the first map with still 30 players alive.
Here's the thing, though. Are we surprised to see a young gun like Smitty on 11 right now? He kind of made his way onto the scene, being known as just this high kill slayer. And I know he's just making Rebirth his playground at this point.
See Biffle making a nice play around, looking for Mojo. There's going to be a little region-on-region violence at this point. Mojo, native to the area. Mojo, technically from Palestine team, local here in Saudi. Biffle representing the Falcons. Unfortunately, guess what? Third party, and who was it? By his teammate. Mojo cleans up Hisoka. Hisoka takes down Biffle. That's the nature of the game in these solo seeding rounds, folks. You're fighting your teammates.
You never know what can happen. Biffle's trying to play a little bit calm there. Maybe, you know, take a different fight with his pistol if he could. But unfortunately, Soka kind of third parties that fight and leaves Mojo just left alive to clean it on up. That's just free eliminations.
I love to see it. Frankly, that's the nature of the game. You're looking for third parties. Now, Z-Smith could have the biggest map of the day here in the very first one. Puts him in a blender, takes down Hard Trevs, using the smoke as visual cover, and then outplays his opponent by sliding in using the Superi. And frankly, another weapon that got nerfed very recently, still extremely efficient at taking down your opponents at close range. It won't be as strong at range, so watch out for that, especially as we get into team play.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the question, right? With that kind of balance patch that did come in, were we going to still see everybody using the Superi? And it seems like a lot of players still opting for it. Obviously, for Z-Smith, it's working pretty solid so far. It's looking great. I love what he did here, though. He saw Hard Trevs kind of come back in. This is something you and I talked about. Are there going to be players that would just basically farm some of these players coming back on in? Z-Smith's obviously feeling good. He wins that first gunfight against Hard Trevs, says, hey, let's go, round 2, bring it to me. I'm just going to farm you all day, baby. Give me the points.
Well, I think that's the key, especially in Warzone, just really at any level, any map, as it looks like Tommy might be about to fight Almond as well. Wiz gets another angle. Tom says, well, okay, I can't quite clean this up unless I full send, and is not going to let Wiz grab the advantage here. But again, could get shot from about 5 different angles at this point, and so I don't love the push, and I don't think he does either. Gonna back up. Yeah, Dan, I think this is the key, bro. Z-Smith, I mean, I don't want to hang out on him the entire time, but 14 kills in the first map on almost 5K damage? What's this guy doing?
He is shooting his gun. We said there were players who wanted to get on land and they wanted to shoot their gun, and that is what is happening. I love that he's been able to make this play at Harbor. Has felt like, hey, I've sufficiently played this area. Let me come back up here towards Factory, kind of clear the sun out. If he can kind of make it back up towards that Grandma's area, that is a very solid part to get into.
Yeah, Resurgence, by the way, officially closed. You can see the teams and rather players on their respective solo teams dropping like flies out of the numbers, now down to 20 out of 42, because at this point, folks, if you die, there is no coming back at all. There is no gulag, there's no Resurgence, there's nothing. If you die, you're done. So gameplay here is now going to slow down. This is what we see from these players. They talked about it. It is hyper-aggressive, crazy action early, but when Resurgence falls, the entire map gets quiet, just for a couple moments, unless you have an angle. Wiz has taken the ultimate high ground. The problem is a lot of people can look up and shoot you at the same time if you're not careful, so you're going to hang out for a little while.
Well, I think the extra hard part there, too, is that he's not up there with guns. It looks like we saw him get taken out by Tommy, I believe, and has now made his way to the top of the tower simply with a pistol. So you're kind of just holding up there. You're playing placements right now, right? Because as a reminder, folks, we do have some multipliers in effect here. So you can see there, first place, second 2 times, second 1.7, third through fifth 1.4. So even though you maybe might not be able to get much eliminations now, you can still kind of rack up some of those points if you make it deep into the lobby.
Yeah, if you haven't watched a lot of Warzone competition, that is the key. Kills are everything. Placement helps, all right? It's a kill multiplier for what place you earn. So top 5 is what you're looking for in this competition. That is that 1.7x multiplier. If you do win the map, though, it is a 2 times multiplier on the number of kills you have. So if you're looking at Z-Smith, if he doesn't get a single kill left in the game and he gets first place, that would be 28 points in the first map on Rebirth Island. That is a ridiculous stat already, and I can only imagine if he's going to win, he's got to get at least 1 more. And I have a feeling, Dan, he might get a couple more.
Yeah, I think he's going to play really smart. That's one of my favorite parts of Z-Smith particularly. You know, he's this hyper-aggro player. That's cool, but he knows how to make these plays. And as I say that,
oh, no.
It looks like Wiz is up at the top. Yeah, spawn back in with just a basic AMR, and he's able to go to work. That's going to give Wiz 5. And as we say it, maybe a little bit of caster curse coming on in here because Z-Smith on the rotation eliminated.
Still a fantastic map for Z-Smith. I think there's a chance Z-Smith actually still might be at the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah.
I mean, he secured, I believe, inside 15th place. It looks like 12th place, which is a 1.4x in solos. 6th all the way to 15th place, all earn the 1.4x, and you can increase that at 1.7 as we get higher. But holding the edge of zone, Mojo here to prove something. Maybe enact a bit of revenge on his Middle Eastern brothers. Here local, trying to make a name for himself. Clapper falls. We are down to the final 10 and counting. 7 still on the map. Mojo, massive play on the edge. Wiz finally falls after jumping out of the lighthouse. We are down to the final 5. We've got a 1.7x multiplier, and it only gets better if you win it all. Jukis cleans one up on the far left, right-hand side. 1 more goes down. AJ out of here. Jukis cleans up 2, and we're down to the final 3, Dan.
Final 3 trying to play from around here. Loadouts are creating a little bit of a heady. Mojo has been able to fire out. Has that heartbeat sensor, though. Should hopefully get an idea. Maybe where did Z-Dart go? But he's looking behind him. Jukis might be coming in from around here. Can he be able to take this on down? Mojo using this heartbeat monitor to make sure that he can have the information he needs to maybe make a play. You're hearing some shots come out as he tries to go through the rotation. They know Z-Dark's in here.
Yeah, and that's the key. Mojo's playing this near perfectly. You just wait until the other 2 players fight if you can get them to do so on the rotation based on the zone. Mojo's able to make it to zone as well, so the only player not on that zone is going to be Jukis. You can see him moving with his amazing free cam here with our COD caster, and he's going to move towards Z-Dark. This is a huge win for Mojo, forcing the equation. Mojo could come third party this. Third, second, it's all the same. It all comes down to winning the map. Mojo looking for an angle off on the right-hand side. Z-Dark and Jukis trying not to get too aggressive here. They don't want to throw away their lives. Not too early. Z-Dark finds Mojo. It's going to open up an opportunity for Jukis in the zone. Can Z-Dark cut one down? Can he grab a second place, then make it a first? He is running away. Mojo will not fall.
Wow, Mojo has made their way out into the gas, and it's a double down. Jukis, he just has to wait here. Can he be able to catch Mojo on this revive? No, he doesn't. Mojo gets the opportunity to get back on out, plays back on out. Doesn't matter, though. Jukis takes the chow. He's a favorite on land and taking game number 1. Look at the excitement on him.
Wow, Jukis stands up and tells the folks at home, yeah, don't worry, I'm not washed. I still got it in me. Wins the first map. That is a 2x multiplier. Looks like about 14 to 16 points. Not too shabby, but it is worth mentioning, Dan. Z-Smith had 14 kills, let alone with the multiplier. Now, I'm pretty decent at math, and I gotta say, 1.4 times 14 is higher than 14. That's pretty easy math.
Yeah, pretty easy math there. And what that just goes to show me, even though, he did get taken out in a little bit of an unfortunate situation, for him to come out game number 1 and start frying like that, we said this is going to be a little bit of a confidence booster for some players. I got to imagine for somebody like that, it's going to be incredible.
Yeah, I think that's a great call out. Jukis with a smile on his face, feeling comfortable about his first game. Reminder, this is seeding, folks, okay? So Juki's score here, 14, 16 points roughly. Those points will be added to his team's tally. So he, his teammates, all of their scores will be combined at the end of the day today. But a huge shout out to Aula for the first map victory. You gotta feel good if you're the club. Aula's a really cool club, local club. They actually have a football team if you're from this side of the pond, or maybe if you're watching from North America, that's soccer, by the way. They've got a great soccer team as well. So yeah, excited to see Aula represented here through Juki's and grabbing first map's win.
Well, we were kind of questioning, how is this team going to be able to perform, right? We know Juki's is able to find eliminations on a map. That is no surprise here. But I feel like right now, if they're able to kind of, you win map number 1, you're able to stay consistent through these next kind of couple maps, you're going to be feeling very, very good, especially when we get our way into the group stage.
Yeah, Z-Dark also doing really well that game. Making it to the end, I think a really important note. Z-Dark had a chance to interview him for a while, and he was really excited to come perform on LAN. Here's a quick look back, by the way, at our final couple circles, our final couple fights. And this was a crazy one. Look at this. Mojo actually falls first, but Z-Dark gets hit by a thermite from Juki's, who gets netted the kill, by the way. So Juki's actually gets both of these, so it is 8 total, which is the thing I wasn't sure about. The thermite's the thing that cleaned up with the third party, almost like through the wall, and he's able to get both kills and a win. That's a huge value add.
Well, we recently did see the C4s kind of take a hit, right? And we were wondering, are people going to still rely on that C4, or do we see them kind of move to that thermite? I love that Juki's is bringing that out, especially here on Rebirth Island. 4 situations exactly like that. You can catch people in doorways. You can catch them in these small corridors that they're trying to maneuver on through, right? So when you have a thermite, you just create this area of denial. And if you're in an instance like that, well, sometimes you can be able to clean up the rest of the lobby to come out on top. So I love that we kind of see finally some different lethals come to play here at the Esports World Cup.
Yeah, I think the loadout question was always a big one for us, especially with recent nerfs like you were talking about. C4s, Z-Dark actually, he had an interview with Enigma that I was able to like lurk in on. I was like peeking through the like window of the media room. And Z-Dark was saying that he was going to use C4s no matter what, because here on Resurgence in particular, kind of like what Z-Smith was doing, he throws C4s out in a predetermined area and waits for somebody to either land there or run into a building where he then sets them off. So it's less about tossing them like a frisbee and more about setting them, planning them, and waiting for somebody to try to land there, potentially on loot in particular.
Oh, I know that we have that, and it's kind of cool, too, to be able to have them even on buy stations, right? To be able to have people, if they're going to come back on in, maybe they're trying to grab a UAV, maybe they're trying to grab a self-revive, to kind of get some of these things to get them back into the game. So I love that you're able to put them on something like a buy station and hold it on down.
Yeah, I loved it. First map done and dusted. One more for this group pairing. It's going to be Group A versus Group B right now. They've got one more game to go in this group pairing, and then we're going to say goodbye to Group B. We're going to bring in Group C. It'll be A versus C, and then the final matchup, B versus C. If you don't know what we're talking about, we'll keep describing it. We got all of our players ready to go. We're going to get our Game 2 underway shortly, but let's hear from our analysts. Let's hear from Taylor and the crew. What you got for us?
Hey, what a game number 1 that was. Exciting and really everything I expected it to be. Look, these Resurgence maps are blistering fast, and you got to be playing on all cylinders. If you don't, man, you're going to get left behind. Juki's, I don't know if I can call him old man Juki's, to be honest. I don't know how old he is. I'm old myself. I know it's quite offensive. But Juki's, man, it feels good for him to come back in and come to this stage and perform as well as he did. First place is incredible. Double down. I mean, tense is always so tough to play around, but Juki's made it happen.
Yeah, I mean, as I understand it, right, Juki's, I think obviously there's been a lot of rebirth scrims leading up to this event. A lot of teams have been trying to make it happen, trying to make sure that they're ready for the Esports World Cup. And Juki's was one of those players that's actually been doing really well in those scrims. He's been one of the highest kill earners in those scrims. So I'm not really all that surprised to see him popping off in game 1.
Yeah, it was incredible to see. And that double down, I mean, I was on the edge of my seat, Seymour, because it's like he gets the double down. He needs to get the finish. He can't get it in time. The revive is up. Mojo goes for the secondary challenge, but Juki's, he had it locked down.
Yeah, no, we saw the thermite get used as well to take down Dark right away. I was kind of excited because, I brought up the fact that Dark could steal, Amir. We had to keep our eyes on him. Thought Dark was going to come away with the win, but Juki's playing fantastic. You and I, all 3 of us, we've been kind of talking about how, do we have to see Tommy wrangle Juki's in?
Right.
No, you got to let him off the leash in the solos. Let him
Yeah.
off the leash and fly, and he is doing absolutely fantastic on his
Right.
own, it looks like.
Well, let's start talking about our highlights and more importantly, what we ended up seeing from positioning. And I pass this question to you because positioning is important when it comes to Rebirth. You don't have that, you don't win.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is kind of interesting because we're wondering how ready these guys are going to be for Rebirth, right? I mean, what adaptations are they going to make with the most of their season being on Urzikstan?
right.
And, you know, already right off the rip, I think we were seeing a lot of the bigger players, right, taking the edge of the zone, taking the edge of the map, right? Making sure that they're near the water so they've got an escape route because the water, again, it's really good obfuscating the line of sight. It's very difficult to see players in the water. I can tell you that much from playing my limited time on Ranked Resurgence this last week, right? It's so difficult when players escape to the water, and that's why you see a lot of players early on utilizing the edge of the map. It's actually something that we saw with Smith, right?
Yeah, Z Smith, Seymour, come on, talking about 14 eliminations, definitely the most powerhouse player, at least when it came to start of the game and mid-game.
I knew this Twisted Mind teams was going to be good, but with Z-Mit shooting like that, I feel like this is a dangerous team. And how smart is it to use the buy station during fire sale to bait people in off of, you know, potential buys? They're using the C4, planting it like Goj said. Of course, you know, Goj compares using a C4 to throwing a Frisbee.
Of course.
You know, Smith, he's not going to throw it like a Frisbee. He's going to plant it on down. And, I mean, 14 kills alongside, you know, having his trio of Twisted Minds, Aiden taking down Hisoka during this game. And then you look at Knight to have a really good performance this week as the standout Resurgence player. I think seeing Smith come away with such a game like this, although it's not a win, that is a positive for Twisted Minds.
Positive indeed. The final moments, again, we broke that down. I mean, just the fact that Juki's hits that composure, and he's one of the guys that has so much LAN experience. You know, he's not going to crumble under the pressure as far as I'm concerned. But Z Smith, one of the standout players again. Now, those pesky lighthouse campers, man. I mean, that, you know, Abwiz, like, shout out to you. You're a great competitor, but you got to hate it when it ends up happening. That's what takes him down. The question is, how far could Z Smith have gone? That's the question. But hey, it looks like game number 2 might already be ready to go, and I'm ready to send it. So casters, let's get it started. Game number 2. Let's see who's going to take it all.
Wow, thanks, Taylor. I really appreciate it. Great breakdown. Z-Smith, tough Fryer, Juki's the winner. Both are super valuable. But here in Warzone, Dan, we got kill multipliers, which means just because you win a map doesn't mean you're necessarily going to be on top of the leaderboard.
That's like my favorite storyline, right? Is like you have somebody who wins a map and we're like, oh, heck yeah, that's so cool. And then we look at the points with the multiplier and you're like, oh, okay, this is fine. This is okay. Z-Smith kind of bringing that storyboard exactly to life.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what Z-Smith wanted to do. He wanted to show up and tell everybody that he means business. He came to slay out. He's going to go for wins. He's going to go for his multipliers. But as we get into map number 2, I want to see Juki's turn it up a notch. Bring some more heat and prove to Z-Smith that it's like, no. EU's on top. Let me lock in here. Match number 2 about to be underway. Folks at home, I hope you're enjoying the action. We sure are here in the booth. It's hot outside. It's hot in the booth in a good way. It is hot on Rebirth Island, folks. It is time for some more Resurgence. It's solos. 42 individuals dropping in to map number 2. You're not going to want to miss this one.
Coming on in, the question I have, will you be able to kind of regain if you're somebody like Huskers who went out that early, or can you keep the momentum if you are Juki's or Z Smith? This is the time to keep alive. This is the last time you're playing all these players. We're going to a new group after this.
That is exactly right. A great call out, Dan. We've got a total of 4 maps being played for each group, 6 maps in total. Z-Smith starting off hot yet again, and Huskers yet again in trouble early. Huskers, one of the first players to fall last time, and cannot escape the sights of the old Bruin. A classic, a staple here on Resurgence in general in Warzone. A lot of bullets to play with, which just basically means Huskers is pinned down until Z-Smith gets bored.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I love that Smith just kind of keeps it going, keeps the trigger down. He's just kind of laying down into Huskers. But you can see it feels like Smith has now moved his way over to maybe somebody else. Huskers has this Car 98 in hand, and it doesn't look like they'll be able to go. Smith says, hey, I don't need to waste my time taking this fight. This doesn't really feel great. I'm moving somewhere else.
Yeah, I think Harbor, Docks, we talk about these POIs all the time, especially on the edge of the map. You heard the analysts talk about it, especially in solos, like looting up here feels a bit more safe, and then you can kind of comb around without a big threat behind you. Stuwo in trouble potentially with Dongi on the other side, and that is exactly what's going to happen when Dongi's on the other side. Maybe you got first shots, but you don't have the weapon or the efficacy that I do as Dongi. That is a single kill his way, looking for more.
I love the way he kind of throws on in. He starts getting shot out. He flies back on out and then just re-chows on a timing that they just were not ready for. So a really kind of solid play there from Dongi. He's looking around. Maybe there could be somebody else over here towards his harbor side. But this is a nice little area to play in, right? You can kind of decide, do I want to make my way over to Chem? Do I want to start playing towards Factory? Do I even go up towards Prison? You have a lot of options here. So Dongi, he's kind of claimed this space and now looking to make some moves.
Well, the water obfuscates is what Infinity said, and I totally agree. Z-Smith finds one on the water, but it's tough to track. Here's some footsteps, though. Dongi gonna try to chow the top player, and it is not even close. Z-Smith hardly even loses a plate, playing a fantastic spot on the stairs, using the railing as cover, and takes down his opponent. Z-Smith is looking like he is in final form as we head up to the top of Prison, with Crims looking to continue to make some waves in the scene. Crims' squad has been so dominant in competitions previously, and it's for that reason. This dude shoots straight.
Deleted by a single tap SVA. We knew a lot of players are going to be rocking this gun, and that is a perfect example why. Finds Dongi again on the regate, fully wiped out. This was somebody we talked a lot about on top of show, but he is one of the first players eliminated from map number 2.
And that's what we're talking about with solos. It is super difficult. You haven't played a lot of solos Resurgence. Joe Woe falling as well, one of the first 3 players to get eliminated. Z-Smith's going to fall in the kill feed, but not fully out of it. If you die, fly back in, and then die very quickly after that, you are done on this map. That's how this mode works. So kind of a brand new mode into the competitive scene. Love to see it and love to see players trying to adjust to it on the fly.
Trying to make something happen. We just saw Hamoud there on 5 already this map, so feeling pretty solid. This was a team that really came out of nowhere. I got a chance to interview Zix, and he said, yeah, going to World Series last year, we had never played a Customs. They played over 30 this year. They're feeling a lot better against this top-tier competition that's there. Mojo on the other side. You got this Car 98 in hand. We said the water obfuscates, and I think this is a perfect example of how that's going. Jackal doing a great job of dodging these bullets.
Oh, connects in this player. I mean, Jackal's got to be just literally 1 HP, but yet again, the footsteps. Because what happens when you shoot your gun? It is a signal flare as Teenix comes flying in to clean up Mojo. If you shoot your gun, it is a signal flare to say, come and get me. There are going to be 3rd parties and 4th parties galore over the next 5 maps.
Yeah, you're definitely keeping your eye on that minimap. You're chasing red dots at this point, right? And that's exactly what we see happen there. Tenix is able to try and make that happen and is able to do it. As we see him then get in a helicopter for the rotation. I kind of like this. He says, I don't like being out here. I'm not making this rotation. Give me the heli. I'm getting out.
Hisoka fully wiped, by the way, folks. Some of our top players struggling in the solos round. And if you see that eliminated, squad eliminated in the kill feed, that means they are out of here. You'll see that number tick down near the top as well, 36 out of 42. Still plenty of players in this lobby, plenty of pieces of cover, and plenty of people lurking in the shadows or up on high as Teenix, after a couple kills to his name, takes the high ground, is going to try to snipe some folks down.
I think this is a really solid spot. We saw kind of players playing on top of Prison. It is a nice spot that some players do like to regain at. So, you know, that's a great idea until you have Tenix up there with a Car 98. Crims flying back on into the water, and it's Z-Dark yet again bringing them on down. No opportunity to stay alive for that Resurgence timer.
Z-Dark told us he was trying to bring some respect to Latin America, bring respect to him, his team with Deus Amir, a really strong squad that's played together for a very long time, but he individually is their top slayer and is slaying out in our solos competition as well. We'll swing back over to Jace, who catches Tommy unaware, had him ready, and again shoots the bodies. Jace told me he was going to be shooting some bodies. I didn't know it was going to be this early. Come on now.
I mean, hey, if there's a body to shoot, Tommy might not be the one you want to do. That guy takes it personal. He'll come back, and he will make you pay, but I like it. Jace feeling themselves. I said they look good on the walkout. They're feeling good here on the map.
And that is Tommy actually fully eliminated as well. A lot more players getting very aggressive early. We're already down to 30 out of 42 with our second circle just now closing. So this is actually a much more aggressive second lobby. The players are starting to get their feet underneath them and say, I'm going to go slay out. I'm not going to be camping in this corner. I'm not going to be hanging out waiting for something to come to me. I want to go get it for myself. Everything is earned here in the Esports World Cup. It looks like the players are starting to get the memo as AJ finds a 4 if he can clean it up without getting cleaned up himself.
Nice little slide back and forth. Gets him out of harm's way. Somebody was trying to be able to get that elimination, but King AJ not going to let it happen. Takes down Juki. So that is a really solid play, but he's not alone. You got a couple people around you, Bagel being one of them. We're seeing these Thermites come on in. That's actually a shock stick, actually, as you're seeing him go on through, hops up on top of the box. Oh my gosh, it's Bagel with the turn and burn. Not what you want to happen when you take a fight like that.
BSL going huge on the back of Bagel, also known as Boogs, looking to try to get a second. This time, yes, Huskers. Oh my goodness, Bagel, no Bagels today. Unfortunately, finally falls from Zakar, but it took 3 men charging through the doors and through the ceiling to take down Bagel, who will be able to fly back in. Resurgence timer still active. We'll see if he can get active back on the map here shortly as Zakar looks for his 5th.
Wow, absolutely slams King AJ, but you don't get to celebrate that for long as he just gets immediately deleted by Rodrigo, who's now made their way up the top, and it's Z-Smith still back on in here. 4 eliminations, a lot slower game here, but that is A-okay. You come out swinging game number 1, even if you have an okay game number 2, on average, you're still looking and feeling pretty good.
Yeah, really want to pay attention here to the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, what weapons they have in particular. This will show you if they feel like they're stabilized, if they have the resources they want, if they have their loadout. It is a massive boon in Resurgence, especially having your loadout as you go into the latter half of the game without the Resurgence timer active. That's where you have to have good weapons. Look at this bottom right-hand corner. Rodrigo doesn't have his loadout. That means he just flew back in, has a gray gun, and is going to have to try to take some of these fights at a slight disadvantage.
And he's at a sandwich right now between Z-Smith and Almond, 2 players I would not like to find myself in between. You don't have loadout guns. You're trying to make it happen. Almond kind of makes this play on the outside of the wall, and I don't know what just happens. You have Rodrigo just kind of plays a little bit patient. Almond maybe a little hesitant there.
Yeah, confidence is key, and a great play over the wall jukes his opponent out. And Almond out of here. Resurgence timer going to be closing in about a minute and a half or so. Watch out for that. Intex on 7, by the way. Juki's ended on 8 in the last map. So some of these numbers are like, they only have 4 kills. We're playing customs, folks. These are the best Warzone players in the literal world, all joined together for the Esports World Cup. Call of Duty Warzone competition. And Vision is on 4, looking to make it a lot more as Z-Smith continues to fry. Some of the top fraggers in the game. Intex on 7, like I said before. Z-Smith says, no one's taking the crown as the top slayer today, not in this map.
Yeah, it feels like, I think Smith realized that he kind of overheated a little bit in that map number 1, so he's okay playing a little bit slower here, and it's kind of coming alive. A little bit of a rough start for him, but he's able to regain. Coming back over here towards the harbor, takes down Rodrigo again. That Holger 26 still hitting like always.
I'm telling you, loadout is so key at this moment in the game. You really don't want to die. Now, of course, Resurgence still active just for a little bit longer, but you can't die here if you're Z-Smith. You already have the resources you want. You have loadout. You have the advantage. Keep it. Keep moving. Stay alive. Get your advantages. We always talk about gunfights in a percentage. Dan, we talk about how you want to take high percentage gunfights, meaning gunfights that you know you're probably going to win 9 times out of 10, 8 times out of 10. Having your loadout is a key factor in that, and you can see why Z-Smith's been slaying out. He's doing a great job of just staying alive and not having to restabilize over and over and over again.
It's a really interesting point, though, because if you are, kind of like we saw earlier, if you are a player who comes back in with just the guns that the game gives you off of that Resurgence, having some really solid gun skill in your back pocket can be the make or break moment, right? If you're only good with your loadout weapons, it's going to be very hard for you to find those eliminations and find those points through that middle side of the map until you're able to get it. I'm looking at people like Stuo, who's obviously trying to play a little bit of a regain right here. You have the striker in hand. He has Abwas below him, but hasn't been able to see him. We might watch a surprise shark attack happen.
I mean, it's definitely possible. I could just breach the side of this boat and make a play. Again, we're in Codcaster, folks, so we can see things that the players can't, all right? Yes, we have X-ray vision. The players do not. So it looks like Stuo saw him, but it doesn't look like he had an angle. If he did, and frankly, I don't think he knows he's there. Maybe he knows there's a swimmer somewhere around here, but doesn't know exactly where. Now, Juki's the winner of the last map. Alula on top and still alive, but only 4 to his name. And here's a quick look back, the fight on the other side as Visions takes down 1. Intex falling yet again.
A little bit of a time here from Z-Smith has made his way back on in. Circle closing, Resurgence about to end. So we mentioned it game number 1. We'll kind of remind you here, game number 2. This is where about the pace of play will slow to a crawl, right? You can't come back any longer. You have to be able to play your life.
Yeah, no Resurgence, not at all, not a bit of it left, which means you've got to play patient. As the pace slows and everybody lurks for this next circle, things are about to get real dicey. A lot of players starting to rotate in from the outer edges, but Z-Smith Z-Smith in the building, still inside of zone here on the edge of factory. He's going to slowly creep up, and I can only imagine not going to give away his position not too early. Looking for some extra loot, but nothing yet.
Something interesting I just noticed, right? We are just playing in the normal solos mode here on Resurgence. That means we don't have to deal with any of the bans of the ranked playlist.
Right.
I don't know if you saw, Smith's got a thermal on his guns because of how many smokes are used in this scenario, which could have been what led to him being able to find so many of those eliminations. You might try and smoke to get away. Doesn't matter when he's got a thermal on his gun. Can shoot you right through the smoke.
Yeah, it's a great call. Can shoot through the smoke, spot people through the smoke. I think that's a great shout to think maybe that's why Z-Smith's finding a lot of success here. Does make his way to a buy station, and that's a UAV he just popped. So information in his hand is going to help for his rotations, but not if you're getting wall banged out by Allman on about 1 HP in a dream. Reminder, if you fall there, you don't have a self-res, you're out of here. You're back to the lobby. We're in the top 10 folks already. Our multipliers coming into play in spades. 1.7x if you get to the top 5. And now down to 6 as Liam falls. Oki finding another elimination.
Brother, blink of an eye. We went from 14 squads down to 6. These games are ending quickly as we start to see this kind of zone. If you are someone like Oki, sure, you're finding these eliminations, but you have to go across so much of the map to where this zone is pulling towards.
Z-Smith finds Allman, cleans up his aggressor, says, no, I'm going to be on top. 1.7 multiplier achieved. Z-Smith is at the top of our leaderboard almost assuredly, somewhere around 19 some odd points. Juki's around 16 right beneath him, probably 1 and 2, and Z-Smith is alive again going into the second map with the 1.7x on 8 kills. This is a monstrous effort in the very beginning of this tournament by Z-Smith as he catches another one. Doesn't get given the kill, though. It looks like, I think Stable J was actually the one that gets given the kill based on the amount of damage that was done. This is Destroy's sub. This is his brother. He's here to play, and he might be able to win this second map.
Top 4, map number 2, playing in here. Stable J, has played a lot of tournaments in his lifetime, but usually from the comfort of his own home. It's a little bit different here in Riyadh. So to have this happen in game number 2, that's showing a lot of confidence, but Z-Smith might be able to smell something, and nope, not enough. Patience is a virtue. Stable J taking down Z-Smith has now made top 3.
Taking down the leader, a huge win for Stable J, and a huge win for his team, by the way, Team Destroy. They need these points for seeding for tomorrow and the next day. Oki on 7, lurking in the corner as well. Gets caught in a weird angle and says, I'm going to make a play through gas. We talk about resources 1,000 times over and over again. Gas masks are key. You've got to be able to make these rotations, especially with this so slow. Oki puts him on a burn and turn. J-Tech goes down, omits out of here in 3rd on this map. It is Stable J versus Oki playing in the gas up the zip.
What?
Who falls first? Oki's self-reviving. What's going on?
Jay tries to make it happen, but he's able to get the final damage in. Stable J, the sub, Destroy's brother, coming on in. He's getting hyped. He's saying, mess with me. Let's go. He might be a sub on the sheet, but he's a main player here today.
I love it. This is the key to esports, folks. When things go wrong, everything gets frustrating. To one of your top players gets taken out from an illness, you gotta have the backup come in and say, I've got something to prove. I talked to Stable J right before the broadcast, and I asked him, what did he want us to know? And he just said, look, I've been gaming since I was young. I'm a competitor. I'm here to play. I can compete with the best, and I'm excited to prove it here on LAN. And apparently that's the case. Map 2 goes to Stable J. Map 2 goes to Team Destroy.
Wow.
Somewhere around 8 to 9 points. A great map.
Listen, I know Destroy is probably sitting at his hotel, biggest smile on his face that his little brother just pulled this one up. It was kind of a question we had, right? He said, Jay, you get as many points as you possibly can, right? Your other 2 teammates have an opportunity to get points as well. You don't even got to worry about that, man. You can see the smile on his face, and he's just so happy to be able to clutch that one on out.
Dude, he is amped. I love our reactions of our players on land. I can only imagine what that feels like, man, when you're given that burden and responsibility from not only your brother, but just a really good competitor, too.
Yeah.
Like, Stable J is a grinder. Like, yeah, sure, brothers to brother, they compete together. They've done some of that in the past. They play on their own a lot. Stable J grinds tournaments whenever he can get an opportunity, and he's so amped to be able to prove it on land that he can compete with the best. So really excited to see if Stable J can get some more opportunities down the line. Goes from maybe a sub here to maybe a main competitor somewhere else. I don't know.
I mean, hey, we got LCQs coming up for World Series of Warzone. This might be the guy you should be looking at to come on in. I don't know, dude, but wow. As a reminder, folks, we'll kind of come on down a little bit. Group A versus Group B. We're playing 2 maps. We're feeling good. We're swapping out half the players now.
That's right. Yeah, you can see some of the players standing up and being like, oh, great game, high-fiving,
Cool.
fist bumping. Probably a couple of them a little bit frustrated.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw several players go down early, especially when you only get 2 chances against that group. There's really a lot on the line, and let's take a quick look back at that play. And what's so interesting about this play is Stable J saw Oki. Oki actually falls, I believe, to gas because his gas mask ran out, and that's where Stable J was able to chase him down, hawk down the kill, had the resources at the end of the game to win it all.
It's a little bit of a, you're probably a little bit frustrated if you're Oki there, right? You're able to get the self-revive off. You're feeling good. It kind of just feels like maybe you pull the shoot a little bit. Kind of goes to something a lot of players are talking about. They said, hey, we're running Mountaineer, right? So we can jump off those high buildings, those high points of interest, and be able to stay alive. You have Mountaineer there. If you're Oki, you don't have to pull your shoot. He can just look up, maybe find Stable J coming on down. But either way, fantastic way to clutch up that map.
Yeah, very end of that map, by the way. They were playing all in the gas. It completely closed. There was no circle to turn to, and Stable J clutched up when they needed it most. Great map from Stable J, somewhere around 8-9 points. A fantastic one in the books for the team, but the big question is, where is Z-Smith? I think probably still at the top of the leaderboard. Folks, let's head over to the desk and see what they had to say about that one.
Just as exciting as game number 1, which is honestly hard to say. I cannot believe the brother, the fill-in for Team Destroy, Stable J, comes in and takes a tremendous victory. We question, how well will he do today? Well, I mean, he's a superstar.
I gotta be honest, no bias casters, right? We're never biased analysts, we would never do that, but we were screaming at the end of that game because those are the kind of storylines that we live for, right? We talk about the fact that he comes in today and is able to win the game for his brother. I mean, that is just utterly insane. Now, it is worth saying, I mean, shout out to Goj because he had an incredible breakdown of why he was able to do that towards the end. But Oki, in that position, the only reason he's even in that position there towards the end is the fact that he is able to take down JTech, right? He goes for that kill. The fact that he goes for that kill means he's not able to get out of the gas in time. He goes down, and of course, Jay has the better positioning in the end. I mean, just an insane play from Jay, and of course, it is worth saying, Jay also took out Smith inside Factory too. He was hiding. He was being a sneaky little beaver.
Hey, but you know what? Sometimes you gotta be a sneaky beaver to take the victory, all right? And a sneaky beaver, shout out to Puckett, by the way, on that one. Now, I do want to go to you about Z-Smith because Z-Smith's been tearing it up. He was taken down by, of course, Stable J in the ends, but he still did secure a top 4 after all, or top 5 maybe, after going into what, at 14 elimination game number 1. He's on fire.
Yeah, he's on fire, and they were talking about how, he was slowing down into the game. I didn't expect him to slow down into the game because you don't really have to play for the kills after you have 14 kills in game number 1. You just need that placement, that multiplier to kind of push you to the top and keep you at the top. And Smith was playing so smart. Goj was talking about how important loadouts are in Resurgence, and you saw Smith being so patient, holding on to that loadout, making sure that entering into those final moments, he still had his gun of choice. He didn't have to kind of wing it towards the end. And I think that calm, collected Z-Smith, it just keeps on building onto the character that he is bringing into this weekend.
That's right. He's controlling the factory area. People are already starting to avoid him, and incredible stuff. As we do look through our highlights, though, I do notice, Dream, Prison played a big role. Snipers were also pretty abundant.
Yeah, and as we kind of were talking about that drop number 1 to drop 2, a lot of the better players kind of playing on the outside of the zones, but even some of these top players not really being able to find recovery. So you think, all right, like Danjro mentioned, Prison, that's a good spot to land, but you have to be careful of the towers where we had Huskers, Nate Dogg, and Tenix up there sniping, right? It's hard to recover in those high ground positions, but the good thing about Prison is you can see Factory, you can see around the map, but you have to be careful. So, I mean, for some of these players even when you're talking about like Z-Smith controlling the Factory side, you got to be careful. But we did see the car being used more for the counter on the water plays, right? We saw Jackal dodging a little bit, right? But you see how it can be effective, but not a lot of eliminations though. So, well, it's kind of interesting. Center of the zone, you got to figure out how to pick up those kills.
I personally don't like center zone, at least off the rip. For me, I'm a factory guy. Not that that means anything, but you know, I'm not playing today. But I do want to talk about a player that was moving, and that's 10x. 10x was all over the map, Infinity.
Yeah, you know what? Ellen already brought up the point, right, about the 10x getting involved in that fight, able to take Mojo out from behind.
Yeah.
But what he does after that is particularly hilarious, right? I mean, he gets himself in a helicopter, which is something we're never going to see in these games, right? Especially here on Rebirth.
Yes.
Able to do that. That's how he gets to that watchtower position and is able to take players out of prison. Incredible movement from 10x.
Just want to add one point to that. 10x flying with that. Did you guys see Biffle just like shooting at him? So
yeah.
We mentioned top players. It's like, man, Hisoka Biffle?
Yeah. And like in Hisoka Biffle, like the whole Falcons team just hasn't been clicking in these early days of solo, which is shocking. Everybody today, yesterday, all week has just been talking about Falcons, and to see them struggling here in the solos, I mean, that might be a worrisome thing to see today. Are the nerves getting to them?
Yeah, and you know what's funny as well? It probably doesn't help that they're taking each other out, right? We were talking about the fact that, are we going to see these guys go head-to-head, actually take each other out in these games? And we literally saw it. First game of the day, we saw Hisoka take Biffle out. I think he probably did recover from that. I don't think that was what we felt in game number one.
Right.
But yeah,
Non-fans.
it is shocking, the fact that these guys are not able to do great things in these games so far.
Well, you know, you got to think you're never as strong as your weakest link, and I don't think any of Falcons are the weak link. For me, I think this is a great day to, again, get those jitters out. You got to understand, like, the Falcons have such a tremendous weight on their shoulders. They're representing one of the biggest organizations, the biggest organization, right, when it comes to this overall tournament, the Esports World Cup. There's many great clubs. Falcons, though, the fan base is out there. So this is a big deal for them. But again, Dream, solos, Ghosh said it before, like, this is the litmus test. This is your chance to, you know, clean up your act and just fill it out.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of feeling out, a lot of these third, fourth party situations, I mean, that's going to be the hard thing, is like redeem and recovery. How do you recover, or how do you even position yourself to where you're not getting close in or getting third partied? And it seems for some of these teams that is difficult. But again, it is solos. We're just doing this for seeding, you know, the real action, I mean, it's beginning, but you know, we still got a long way to go.
We got a long way to go. 4 more games today, and plenty, countless more, right, to go from group stages into finals. But let's talk about a player that was absolutely stellar, and that was Z-Smith, who tore up the competition. 14 eliminations, game number 1. I don't know where he finished off because Stable Ronaldo killed his dream in game number 2. But Z-Smith controlling Factory, controlling that water edge, Seymour. He was playing this area, and teams were starting to learn, I've got to respect this guy.
It's kind of one thing you have to think about Resurgence in general, and a lot of teams seem to be avoiding prison towards the latter end of these maps, trying to play towards the outside, towards those waters, having those exit plans, make sure you're not caught rotating into these buildings. And I think that's where Z-Smith has just proved himself to be an absolute menace with his guns. He's just playing in the right spot, isolating so many gunfights, using the pressure that's put on from those middle players inside prison to kind of funnel his enemies into these one-on-ones, where he's just so confident just to continue racking up those points. And I think that's going to be a big talking point across the day, to see if he is going to continue on that pace every single time we see him.
Just one point I wanted to add out is the baiting of the C4. Like, how genius was that? I can't remember who exactly it was, but the game number 1, just utilizing that. Right? Yeah, hard Trevs, that's right. Utilizing that, big brain plays coming from the old Z-Smith.
And Z-Smith, from what I'm hearing, confirmed he is at the top of the leaderboard. There was a lot of questions. Where would he stand? I don't know the exact number, but we do know that he's currently leading, and no surprise, after 14 eliminations from game number 1, and then what, a 4th, 5th place finish in game number 2?
Yeah.
Hey, he's on top.
And I mean, even in the CDLR, when we saw this Twisted Minds team come together, they placed 3rd place towards the end of the CDLR. So we know in Resurgence, like, all together, these guys have experience playing towards the top.
Yeah, you know what's funny as well? It's all we've been talking about with Twisted Minds is Knight, right? Knight being on this team. Obviously, you know, Aiden and Smith are incredible players, but our entire conversation point has been around the additional Knight. I know we haven't seen Knight yet, but it's nice to know, hey, the entire squad's got it going.
Entire squad, man, is just tearing it up. They're a scary team. I mean, to say it simply. And this is exciting, though. You know, the good thing about today, though, is nobody's eliminated, right? We're so used to, like, the day one, like, oh, this team's been eliminated or this team. No, like, it's a hard reset starting into group stages tomorrow, minus your seeding, of course. You want to try and get as many eliminations as you can so you can get as many points so you can have a better seeding, whether it be Group A, B, or C. You want to make top 14, obviously, from day 3 going into day 4. But at this point, it's early goings. Again, getting those jitters out and just learning how to play, I think, you know, Rebirth again, which you never know, like, how much grinding they've been doing. Actually, there was one team that actually boot camped coming into this.
Yeah, it was Fnatic. We're going, you know, we talked about having them a little bit of a coach to walk them through all their plays. They were sitting down over in London at Fnatic headquarters talking about how much this organization has taken care of them. And that kind of adds on to the storyline of this Fnatic team on how they haven't really been clicking in tournaments in the past and how they've still had some communication issues to work out, still had some plays to kind of make them find that championship form. And, you know, I don't think we've totally seen it come together right now, but I think that over time this weekend, that's going to be a big thing to watch out for.
Big thing indeed. Well, I think it's time to hear from our top leader at the moment, Z Smith. Let's hear what he had to say.
What's up, guys? I got Z Smith here, the top fragger from our opening round of the group stages, and the seeding stages. And you said something special right when you came down here. I'm feeling good today. I like it when the rest of the crew is uncomfortable. How's that working out?
I mean, honestly, I was just challenging everything. I was making sure that, you know, I was able to win my gunfight. I was smoking off my back. And I was just pushing everything, and it worked to my advantage because a lot of people looked real nervous out there, and I just used that to my best ability.
Now, I got a chance to talk with your teammate Knight backstage. He said, I am the Rebirth janitor. Talk to me about teaming with this guy and your expectations as he takes the stage next.
Oh, I expect nothing less out of him. I think he might do better than I did out there. We've played together for so long. We played all the Resurgence tournaments. He's a phenomenal player, and I think he's going to do really good out there.
Now, there's a pretty cool factor in here. If you win the game, you get a 2x multiplier, right? And that drops down all the way down to 5th, 6th. So what's your strategy coming in here? Are you just trying to frag out most kills you can possibly drop, or are you also trying to go for the dub?
I'm definitely not playing for the win. I'm trying to get all the kills first and then just play my game and hopefully make it to end game. I think I got eliminated in 12th, map 1, but then made it all the way to 4th place in map 2.
Final question for you. Who is the easiest one to kill?
Ooh. Honestly, I gotta say Huskers. He's swiping the desk.
Huskers! Old man just got a ring on. I love it, though. He'll be back. Don't you worry when it comes to trios. That's it for us. Back to you guys.
All right, so Huskers, the easiest elimination, apparently. That hurts my soul. You know, they call him the old man Huskers, but he is on that redemption arc, so he has said. And, well, he is at least going to be looking good, I'm sure, going into day 2 and day 3. I liked his answers, though, and more specifically to go to you, Dream, because previous competitor, you know, the first female to go professional, right, pre-CDL. Like, you've done a lot in your life. You understand what it is to play on the main stage. When it comes to him, he said, look, I looked around. There's a lot of people that are nervous. He was like a shark hunting his prey. He saw that nervousness and he capitalized.
Yeah, absolutely. And it went, again, like, even, I don't know if Hisoka was trolling in his interview when he said, you know, I'm nervous, but maybe being humble, but regardless, that the first 2 drops, yes, kind of feeling themselves, but players will be a little bit nervous. But as we move out, like, I'm just like, for instance, Jay, right? Yep. They just got that win, but for his squad, I think just like as a momentum team, it's only going to carry them further. So you got to figure, okay, maybe some of these teams might seem nervous, but they're really just trying to get their footing, trying to figure out what to do, what strategies to implement. But as we keep going on, I just think, again, it will be a different story.
I think it will be. Z Smith, though, again, incredible. Stable J taking that win is just like, that's a Cinderella story, you know, and doing it in front of his brother, which I know means a lot. I had a chance to talk to them, and I know it meant a lot having those 2 together exploring the world and coming for Warzone, right, which is a highly impactful. Well, that's 2 games down, and we've got more to go. Don't you worry. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, more games coming your way.
off too.
Well, welcome back, everybody. We got a big crew up here, and I tell you what, we're having a great time. And there's nothing wrong with having more people to have a little bit of fun, right? And there's nothing wrong with more groups, okay? Group C about to come up and play against Group A. And that's an interesting point because now we're going to see some fresh players go against, well, the top dogs we just saw.
Yeah, and the one I want to point out, I mean, it was already there, so we got to talk about it, right? Knight is coming to play. This is one of our big talking points before we get into the day. The fact that he's coming in here as the rebirth janitor, right? I think that was what Puckett was saying, right?
Right.
I mean, how much damage is he going to do? Is he going to live up to that for the squad? Certainly Smith's already done it, so surely he has to follow suit now.
I would say so. Z Smith set a high bar. Like, that's my big thing. He set the bar of, like, what can be done. Now, the question is anybody going to exceed that bar? And I think so. They just got to be able to capitalize off of, well, everything. Factory seems to be one of the best places to go. I think, for me anyways, like I said, I love the land Factory. For me, that seems to be the most competitive location. I know there are some that do like Control. Hisoka was one of those teams going to, or excuse me, Stronghold, I apologize, going to Stronghold. Zakar was over there, eventually running into Biffle. There are a lot of strong places on the map, but because things now started to get a bit centralized over at Prison, I'm curious if that starts to switch things up. Like, is the edge going to be where everybody decides to go? Will we start seeing players be pushed centralized?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. But I just want to say, though, if Knight does win, I am going to just do, I'm going to...
You're going to sweep them
yeah,
up?
Yeah. Can we
like
just find a broom or something
like a
to start
janitor.
sweeping the floor? Like a janitor? But no, to make your point, yeah, but that's the thing, like, as you'd mentioned, where teams will go kind of like switch it up, but Prison playing so centralized, it's just like you are at risk. You are at risk. You can see so much. There is a lot of places, you have so many levels in Prison to dodge even, but playing that on top of Prison, you have to be careful. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see, but I'm really excited to see this next group go off.
I'm as well, especially if we get to see more incredible plays like Intense, right, from Jukies with that double down and then ultimately getting the finish. That double down, again, had me on the edge of my seat because it's like, oh, dude, Infinity, you got the double down. You're racing to get the finishes. Now the self-revive is coming up, and it's just like, oh, things start to get a bit nerve-wracking. But from what I'm hearing, Puckett is on the floor to talk to Falcons. Let's hear what the Falcons had to say.
What's up, guys? It's Puckett backstage, and I found myself. Show him the Shifty, rocking the brand new Falcons jersey. Now, this is dope. When we came in, everyone's making their predictions. So many players, so many analysts were saying Falcons are here to take it all. Are you feeling any extra pressure right now?
No, we're just here to do what we normally do.
Now, in the first round, we're doing seeding, of course. You're dropping in solos. What's different about solos? What's your approach versus trios?
It's a little more rattier, so I might just, look for a tower, maybe get a sniper and just chill out. Trio's a lot more team-based, so right now we're just going to rat out.
When it comes to the best snipers, the best slayers out there, your name is always in the mix. Who else do you think are some of your top competitors here in Riyadh?
Besides my teammates, I mean, right now Smith's popping off, so maybe him. And maybe some of the, like Breadman, maybe the keyboards right now. We're in the one-shot sniper meta, so maybe those guys.
I hope we see a lot of snipers today. We don't see it often in the trios. Let's make it happen. You need one. Land on it and make it work. All right, anything you want to say to all the Falcons fans cheering you, Hisoka, and crew on this week?
Thank you. You guys' support has been crazy. Ever since we signed, you guys have just been, it's just been enormous, just support. We're out here, people coming up to us saying what's up, that Team Falcons, that's their team they're supporting. It's great. Be loud. We want to hear you guys' support and cheers.
Come on out to the BR stage, meet Shifty, and watch some of the best Battle Royale Warzone can offer. Thanks so much, bud.
Thank you.
All right, so there it is, Shifty, a guy that knows success, right? Winning the global finals last year in the World Series Warzone and looking to, well, be the first ever Warzone World Cup champion. It's definitely within his grasp. The Falcons, such a wonderful organization. And Puckett, he wants some more snipers out there.
Yeah, we've been seeing a lot of them, but oh man, one thing I love about Shifty though, just so poised, so confident, so just sure of his gameplay.
Right. But
you saw him. No. I'm not pulling out a sniper.
he knows Breadman is out there lurking with the sniper. He doesn't want to challenge that. That's
but he cut his hair.
Well, he did. That's a bucket hat you don't want to carry. So check it out. We've got our standings, and I actually want to see who's up in first place. And right now, I think it has to be Z Smith. We take a look, and it is in fact Z Smith, 33.2. You got to give a shout out to him. Who else are we noticing there, Infinity?
Yeah, so I mean, just going straight from the top here, right? We talk about Juki's winning game number one.
Right.
That performance is going to give him 20.8 points in total. It puts him in second place, just behind Smith. Also Almond. I think Almond, one of those players, again, we mentioned Fnatic. Colin, you talked about that, right? The fact that he's up there, I think it inspires confidence in that roster that they can perform pretty well right off the rip.
No one from Falcons.
Well, we take a look at our second page, and this is where I pass it over to you, Seymour, talking about our bottom teams who may have not done the best.
I mean, just look at it right there. Huskers 41, Limax 39, Hisoka 37. Players that we've been talking about, like all coming up towards this tournament, not performing here in solos. It's scary to see Hisoka down there. Skullface, the most winningest solos player in Warzone history in 31 plays. Not a good show for these players. So we're hoping that, you know, when they do come back, we can start to see either in their teammates or when they do return in towards the server for their next turn, if they can turn things around.
Yeah, and it's also worth saying as well, looking towards the bottom half of the leaderboard there, Stuo and Engxion, two of the players that we were talking about, right, for Team Vitality. Team Vitality, I mean, generally speaking, again, you talk about that language barrier, you'd expect those players to come out here firing on all cylinders, playing in solo.
Yeah.
Just not having a good first couple of games. That does not bode well for the seeding for Vitality.
Not at all, but still, 2 more games to go at least for each group, maybe even 4 actually, excuse me, for Group C. But from what I'm hearing for the Falcons, though, they've got some threats inbound. Goj, what did you hear from them?
It's time to get a little spicy, all right? This is our threatometer, okay? Pretty simple. You're going to be rating teams on a scale of 0 threat to you. There is 0 chance they win, to a this is a top team, top 10 threat. If we see them on the map, we either need to be careful, or if they're down, we are sprinting at them because we're not going to let them get back up. We're going to be starting with the Fnatic squad. Now, this is a fun one. This is Almond. Too soon. This is Almond, Noobs, and Skullface. Now, there's a lot of history with all 3 of those players in the Warzone scene.
Yeah, I was thinking in the middle of the pack because, like he said, like
we're threatometer is like we're like the beeps are starting to get pretty aggressive, but not like you're not crazy. Yeah.
They're a really good team. I teamed with those guys, so I know them. But Resurgence, 5-6, because Resurgence, you really need a lot of kills. You need a fast-paced shooter. And that team's got to, like, slow.
We know they're good. They just haven't been doing it.
Sure.
But with the way they've been playing lately, I would have them like a 5-6.
Okay.
They're all very good individually, but it seems like they haven't been meshing too well lately. Just in both big map and small map. So, like, if they're hot that day, they could perform really well. But, you know, if they're not, then they're probably going to struggle. So,
okay.
I'd say around 5.
Well, 5-6 it is for Fnatic squad. We'll see if they can surprise them. Okay, we're going to go to Twisted Minds. This is Aiden, Knight, and Z-Spin. Talk to me. Where should they be?
Now, this is years ago, 9-10.
Okay.
Recently, Gorgo content base, you know, Aiden and Smith have kind of been on the downfall of their duoship, I'd say. Like 4.
4 from Shifty. What do you guys think?
I agree. I think we'll see. I think 4.
4? Us?
Yeah, I mean, like on paper, they seem great because like Knight is, you know, he plays Resurgence all day, but like I don't know if he's really got that like competitive Resurgence.
Ooh, okay.
I don't know. I don't really clear him that much.
Come on. We're going to Guild. This is Wars, King AJ, and Vision. Where do you put them? Going up?
They're pretty solid. Maybe like a 6 or 7.
6-7. I think Wars consistently proven himself as a top EU player. I just don't know how the drama is going to affect them.
Yeah.
Do they care? Do they not? I think it'll just show on them.
Okay, so the 7 for this squad. We've got Al-Ula next, which is Juki's, Tommy, and Lennon. Where do you rank these guys on Resurgence?
I just recently played with Tommy. I know he has really good comms. I also know Juki has crazy comms at playing with him. So.
do you think Tom can keep Juki's on the leash? Or?
That guy's a leash. That guy does his own thing, guys.
Yeah, it depends if Juki wants to listen. I think I put him at like the 4 or 5 mark.
So 4?
Yeah.
All right, beautiful. Gaming Gladiators. Huskers. Now, Shifty and Hisoka, I'm going to get to it in a second.
Oh, Jordan.
Where are you putting your squad on this list?
10.
A 10. No question, no hesitation. You heard it from Huskers. They are a top 10.
I think his nose grew like Pinocchio.
Okay, now we're going to you guys. Gladiators.
That's okay.
Jackal, Brolic, and your boy Huss sitting right next to you.
Man, I'm gonna be honest.
You don't need to hold back because he's sitting next to you. He's got
I'm not.
right
I like Ami Dog. I'm giving a 6 and a 7 because of their big map success.
Okay.
I'd say 6-7.
Okay, well, last one. You know where I'm going next. I'll start with you guys. The Falcons.
I mean, I think with standard right now, the bar, probably the 10.
I think the standard.
Yeah, I believe so. We've put in a lot of time, and I think the results are there. So we think we're the best, and we could show results of why we are.
Yep. Frankly, that was a very humble way of saying you're the best. I'm pretty impressed.
I'm media trained now, you know?
I like it. I like it. Like, you're looking good, man. Haas, what about you?
I think undisputably they're the best team in the game. I wouldn't put them at a 10 because I'd put them at like an 8 or 9 because they're, like I said, they're the best, but they're still beatable.
Okay, 8 or 9 for the Falcons from our Gladiators. A 9. We'll give them a 9. Very well done, gentlemen. This is a great exercise in, honestly, your great answers across the board. Thanks for being here, gentlemen. It was a lot of fun talking to you guys. Really wishing you guys a ton of success in this tournament and excited to cast over your gameplay.
Thank you.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, so there it is. The threat-o-meter has been summoned at least. And, well, there were some honest answers in there, despite maybe their competitors being in the room. Some surprising ones. See where we go to you. What stood out?
I mean, 4 for Twisted Minds? Right now, it seems like Twisted Minds are at 10 and the Falcons are at the 4, the way that they're looking and playing inside those solos. But, hey, it's just the beginning. They're also putting Fnatic pretty low as well. And, you know, I feel like they're just not kind of bringing in the fact that Fnatic did so much work in between this tournament and the last time we saw them inside of a tournament. So it's going to be like a big turn.
Yeah, definitely. I can't believe they gave Twisted Minds a 4. Like, I mean, I feel like Ahsoka has now learned that was a big error after the first couple of games. If Smith's doing that, if we expect Knight to be doing that, and to be fair, it does add to the conversation at least that these guys are not expecting Knight to be on top form.
Yeah, you know, I love how Huskers rated himself a 10 because, listen, let me tell you what, confidence, but that guy, no matter what the team issue he has, he always finds himself at the most important events. So, I mean, Hisoka was kind of funny with that comment. His nose grew like a
It seems like Twisted Minds weren't a threat, but I think we got a Twisted Minds interview. Let's hear what they had to say.
What's up? I got Knight from Twisted Minds. Show him the jersey. Now, Knight, I haven't seen you on land. At least not at the World Series of Warzone, the biggest Warzone events, but I've been told you are a janitor, a special kind of janitor, a Rebirth Island janitor. Tell me about the nickname.
Hey, for the last couple of years, I've been cleaning up this island, so you know they just gave me the role. I'm the janitor here, so I'm here to clean this place up. You know what I mean?
I love that. Now you're playing alongside Aiden Z Smith. Smith is dropping huge numbers in the opening round of seeding here. What's your goal?
I mean, if they're gonna play like that, I'm just keeping us in the game. You know, they could take all the glory. We're getting this dub by the end of the day. You know, so stay alive. That's all I am, I guess.
Are you stronger at solos or trios?
I'm a jack of all trades, so whatever it is, you know, I come out guns blazing. I'm excited for solos, but most importantly, the trios.
And for the new Knight fans, because we know you're going to convert them during your first game, what do they need to know about you? Where are you playing from? How long did it take you to get here? And what do you think of Riyadh?
17-hour flight, flew from Georgia. It is beautiful here, very hot, but I'm adapting. It's awesome. Thank you all for the opportunity here.
Knight, best of luck, man. You already got a fan of me.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Well, there it is. Knight looking pretty strong, saying I'm a jack of all trades. And Bucket saying you're going to gain some new fans, right? So that's a great thing. I love it. Let's take a look at our leaderboard, though, because, again, Twisted Minds was getting a lot of hate, it seems. But let's take a look at the leaderboard. And what do we notice, Infinity?
I mean, yeah, again, Twisted Minds, Smith right at the top. Again, we already mentioned it before the break, right? We talked about Smith doing what he has been doing in those first couple of games. Already proving that he needs to not be underestimated here. It is worth saying, to be fair, Aiden in 12th place as well. We didn't really see much of him in the first couple of games, but finishing with 14 points, I mean, that's nothing to turn your nose up at.
I would say no. It's still a good performance as far as I'm concerned compared to some others. We take a look at the bottom, and, well, there's a lot of birds down there talking about the Falcon stream. Falcon's not looking too hot right now.
Yeah, they're not. But, you know, a part of me just feels like they're not really worried. Like, okay, again, like, we've seen sometimes where maybe they might start off slow. But, like, how many times have they just come out with some crazy, like, pop-off game?
Right.
I just think they're not really worried. But even if, like, for Jay, though, look at him. He's in 22nd. He got a win, but still in 22nd. So, I mean, all it takes is one of these guys to just have a completely shooter game. I mean, Z Smith, challenge everything, right?
Yeah.
So, for Falcons, I don't think they're worried, though.
They should. Well, at least at this point, I don't think they're worried, but there might be an opportunity to get worried depending because, well, they also said one team wasn't a threat, and that's Alula, which, of course, we're talking about Jukies, who ended up winning the first game of the day. Malash is on stage to talk to Jukies. Let's hear what he had to say.
And here we are on the main stage with Jukies from Al-Ula, who
actually got a first place in game number 1. I mean, look, we have to reflect back on the year. You know, it's been a bit tough, it's been rough. You get in here, first game, you get the win. How does that feel?
I don't know what to say really, apart from it's just a great way to start, you know. I didn't really expect it, but once I saw that there was 2 left and I saw them fighting, I just knew I was going to win, so yeah.
How is it positioning-wise? Because 2 down players at some point, going up for the self-res, and you're running around the corner trying to grab them. Of course, we could see it from our end, but how are you trying to kind of play that situation?
Yeah, as well, I stuck him with the thermite through the window, so I was thinking in my head, he has to die, but then it took so long to get the full kill, so I went to double-check that he wasn't actually going to get up, and then as I jumped through the window, I got the full kill. I hit the guy on my right, and I just ego-challenged him. Obviously, it's what I do, so yeah.
And in the end, you won it out. A beautiful win. Now, of course, in game 2, things were not as good. You know, 4 kills in total versus the Ed. What happened in match 2? What was it like?
I had control of the water tower, which was my initial plan for like the first game and the second game. But then I was waiting for like people to land on the loadout, and no one was doing it. So I just got a bit antsy, and I was thinking I got to move here and get more kills. I've had a banger first game, I think anyway. So like it doesn't really matter how this goes. So yeah, I just kind of full sent it. I got sniped. I was unlucky, to be fair. I think if I got into that building, I would have been fine because I'm good at working like the close corners, buildings and stuff. But I got sniped on the way in, so it's unfortunate.
Do you think part of it is being in that LAN environment where there's maybe shake, stress, or is it something else?
What, for everyone else? I don't know. I can't comment on them. All I can say is I'm feeling confident, so I'm going to show that on the map by just challenging people, to be honest. Yeah.
So far, so good. I got to say, and I didn't spoil it before we got in here, but you're currently at 2nd place overall. So not too shabby. Does that fill you with a bit of extra pride?
No, the plan's still the same. You know, I'm still going to load into the next 2 and just, you know, still go for the highest kills and maybe a win again, because that winning feeling was good. I'm not going to lie. Normally, I'm a type to just kill. So like when it comes to winning, I'm not really, you know, familiar with it. But that felt good. That felt good. So look, hopefully I can do it again.
Keeping it cool under pressure. Well, there you go. Great to have you on here for the interview, Jukies from Al Ula. We'll toss it back to our studio.
So he says, when it comes to winning, I'm not really that familiar to it. But I tell you what, he better get familiar because, well, he's an incredible player and he started off hot and heavy. So Alula, expecting them to go far. Great guys, and more importantly, Juki's a legend when it comes to Warzone competitive. Been doing it since the very beginning. I have nothing but love for the guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we just kind of mentioned some of the hardships that they've had. And I mean, just setting the momentum, like that was even one of the questions that we had with Manoush earlier. Like, will this tournament maybe motivate them to push for that success and just to come out and have that first game win? And not to mention the ending with the double down and the thermite. It was beautiful plays, and that's the confidence that we need from these players.
Yeah, you know what's funny? You know, Juki's not only just great at the game, he was also a wonderful dad in real life. Let me tell you, he was the daddy of everyone in that lobby in the first game of the day. Just insane. And you know what? I think, you know, part of the conversation point about Juki's overall is how aggressive is he as a player?
Yes.
Does he kind of overstep that line sometimes, getting too aggressive? Is it too much? You know, does he kind of put himself in bad situations? For game number 1, that worked perfectly. And for game number 2, he actually mentioned the fact that he got more aggressive there. We didn't see him do as well. And I do wonder whether that was the case as we got into game number 2. I'm curious about what his scoreline looked there.
And I think it just kind of brings it into the whole thing that, you know, now Juki's with Tommy. This is going to be a new face of Juki's that I don't think anybody is really ready to see. Yes, he is wild. He's ready to go get those kills. He's not used to winning, but Tommy's used to winning, and he's been around the block for a long time. So this could be just a whole new show from that team.
Juki's, again, a guy that better get used to winning because I think he's going pretty far. And let's not forget, he hasn't qualified for the global stage when it comes to World Series of Warzone. So he wants more, and, well, this is going to be more without question. And let's actually listen in. I think Puckett had a chance to interview Lennon, Juki's teammate. Let's hear what he had to say.
What's up, guys? It's Puckett backstage, and I found me a Lennon, of course, one of the legendary UK players. But this time around, you got a new jersey. Tell me about it.
I'm representing Al Ula. They're a football club in Saudi Arabia. And yeah, they picked us up. So shout out to Al Ula.
Love that club. Best of luck in the running for the club competition. I know serious money is on the line. 20 grand, or 20 million, I should say. Add a few zeros and a comma. All right, Lennon, we got to talk about Juki's, though. Very first map. The man comes in. He gets first place. That doubles up his score. You guys were up to 16 points after just map number 1. How good is this team feeling right now in the seeding rounds?
I'm feeling very confident after that. I knew he could do it. It's Juki's the best UK player ever. in Warzone. I knew he was going to win. And yeah, he showed out. I stood up in the crowd. I was like, go on, Jukies. And it was good.
While he did get that first place, he doubles up his money. There's a cat behind us. This is amazing. I want to hang out with that guy in just a little bit. But Lennon, real quick. So Jukies gets first place, but Z-Smith drops more kills. You're about to go up in the next round. Who's going to be your toughest competition?
Probably Shifter, but I'm not scared, you know. I'm going to bring it to him.
Can you body him early?
100%. I'll shoot his body as well.
I like that call out. All right, before you go, any shout outs you want to give to everyone watching you from home? You got $1 million on the line this weekend.
Shout out to my mom. I know you're watching, Mom. I'm going to make you proud, hopefully. And then shout out to my girlfriend as well, because she's going to be at home watching as well. So thank you.
Well, I think...
And everyone. Family, everyone, my dad. Big shout out. Thank you.
Big shout out. Much love. Back to you guys.
Shout out to the girlfriend. Man's getting brownie points. Hey, Lennon, big fan of that call out, so you can never go wrong with that one. Good guy, and said he was even cheering for Juke. He's like, go on, mate, as he says. And, well, as you would say, actually,
brilliant.
on the test, brilliant.
Excellent.
Lennon, though, seriously, you could tell he's so proud of Jukies to be leading, or obviously leading victory. Speaking of which, Jukies, where does he stand out on that leaderboard? We get a refresh for those at home, and Juki's in second place. So, Seymour, at least for Lennon, he had a real reason to cheer for his teammate.
Yeah, and I was cheering for the cat, too, behind stage. We love the cats here on the desk. But, no, Juki's doing fantastic. I think, you know, it's kind of unfortunate. You know, we see Z-Dark there for, you know, all gamers. Not a big performance from players on our fantasy team, or, you know, players that we did shout out.
We have time.
Except for Guild. I mean, you did a good job, Brody, shouting them out.
You know, sometimes, very rarely, mind you, sometimes I happen to know what I'm talking about. Very rarely. Very rarely.
Well, I think pretty much you hit it on the spot every time. Give yourself some more credit there. And again, shout out to that cat. That cat right there is known worldwide now. That is the studio cat. Well, also, we had a chance to talk to Z-Dark, another player that you said, what, number 5 on the leaderboard? So he's doing pretty well. Ghosh had a chance to talk to him. Let's hear what he had to say.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Esports World Cup here in Riyadh. My name is Enigma, and today we are doing interviews, and I am sat with Z-Dark, who is here, reigning in from Mexico. Now, the first thing I want to ask about you and your team, how does it feel to be carrying that region with you, and how does it feel to represent them here?
Me siento muy alegre, muy feliz de que esté pasando todo esto. Estoy muy contento de estar representando aquí en México como se merece.
So, on the regions, LATAM, should we, as a whole space, be giving you guys more respect? Should you guys be, you know, looked at as one of the teams that can compete at the very top end of this tournament?
Sí, sí las podemos considerar que es una región que está en el top considerablemente.
Okay, so with that in mind, who do you think is the best player in the game? Because currently, no one has mentioned anyone from LATAM. Should they?
Podría ser el equipo de Biful. Tiene buenos jugadores, pero también siento que nuestro equipo tiene muy buenos jugadores que podrían estar en el top.
Is there any team that you don't want to land on you in the map? Would it be just Biffle, or is there someone else as well?
No me importa la verdad con cuál equipo nos enfrentemos cuando estemos en el mapa.
But is there anyone that you really want to beat? Anyone that you want to, if you see them on the map, you're hunting them down?
Obviamente el equipo de Biffle.
You three as a team have been together for a very long time. What advantage does that give you in this tournament?
Yo creo que tenemos demasiada química entre nosotros, nos conocemos muy bien y cada quien sabe su rol en el equipo y estamos muy bien entrelazados.
I'm sure there are plenty of friends, fans, supporters that you want to say something to, so what is your message?
Le quiero dar las gracias a todos ustedes que han estado siempre apoyando a la comunidad, especialmente a mi familia, la comunidad mexicana, la de LATAM, y pues muchas gracias a todos ustedes, por esto estamos aquí. Gracias a todos.
And we wish you the best of luck through the tournament.
Well, there it is, Enigma talking to Big Z-Dark. And like I said, number 5 right now. He says he doesn't care who he finds on the battlefield, but if he does come across Biffle, well, he'll happily take him out.
I don't think he's the only one that has his eyes on the Falcons this weekend, especially in that first couple of games that we did see. But he was talking about the chemistry that they have together. I mean, there's a reason why I kind of had them as my team to highlight going into this tournament, is because how long they've been playing together and how long they've been playing together while performing towards the top. It just kind of adds into that experience when you're not only playing together, but you're playing some good Warzone, when you're kind of winning in that as well. They're having fantastic years together, and it kind of seems like it's just around the corner that they're nearing that win, and this could be it.
Could be it. You know, when I think about Warzone, right, I think about so many players and so many regions represented. We talked about this tournament with 21 teams, 63 players, 5 regions were NA, EU, APAC, EMEA, and Latin America. What does it mean to represent Latin America? I mean, their fan base are wild in a good way. They love to support each and every player from Latin America.
Yes, yes. And one thing that I love that, you know, Dart said that, and Castillo and Amir, I mean, they got 4th last year. They surprised all of us, but the expansion of the regions, right? Some of these regions, I mean, I think about even 18 years ago, right? North America always said EU sucked. Truthfully,
100%.
right?
Truthfully.
Fair, right? But then EU's like, no. We're going to adapt to new play styles.
Yes.
And I remember even back then, like certain, like, let's talk about hard points for a second. P1, P2, P3. That was an EU thing. That was not North America. So you think about Latin American.
Yeah.
Now all of these new regions are coming in because they have the tournaments. They have the practice. And now we're just seeing this new up and coming talent. And every year, you guys, it just grows more and more. And I just love seeing players like this shine.
Yeah, and I think the thing is as well, I mean, it is just such a global thing, right, Warzone. I think comparatively to multiplayer in the early years, we talk about kind of North America and even to a certain extent, I'll admit, to a lesser extent, all right, we'll get it Europe, right? But with Warzone, I think, you know, you talk about the fact that you have North America and Europe, and that was, I think, the dominant conversation for a really long time. But over the course of time, it's progressed to, well, now we have to start talking about the Latin American teams. Now we have to start talking about the Asia-Pacific teams like Limax and Co. Coming over towards North America and performing as well. And, of course, I think most pertinently here in Riyadh, the Saudi teams as well. It is a very much an international esport, and I absolutely love that.
And I do want to say, just to get on the soap opera box just a little bit more, like, you know, Warzone is a game that has grown so much throughout its introduction into the esports space, and that for me personally means quite a bit. And I know for the Warzone competitors out there, for the longest time we were trying to prove our legitimacy as an esport, and I think we absolutely have done that. And that's representative not only with the World Series of Warzone, but also now here at the World Cup. I mean, the competition is so high at this point, it's hard to break into the upper echelon, but it makes things exciting when certain players do. For example, I mean, you know, Stable J, right? Taking that victory was absolutely massive. So, you know, is he going to win the whole thing? I don't know. But the fact that he can win a game just comes to show you Warzone is just a growing game. It's a special game. And again, very, very special to me and all those who end up watching it. So I'm happy that this World Cup is taking place and we get the opportunity to see the best of the best compete. Speaking of the best, though, let's go to you, Seymour. We're about to hop in potentially to map number 3 of the day. Wow. Maybe, you know, at least game number 1 for Group C. Are there any players that you think are going to be scary? They could be players that we've already seen. Could be players that we haven't.
I mean, I feel like, again, you're not going to see Falcons do bad over the course of this tournament, and you expect Falcons to kind of bounce back. Now with Shifty coming in, he was talking to Pocket, he was saying that, you know, I'm ready for this one. I might not want to bring out the sniper, but I do want, like, you're going to see Shifty pick it up for the Falcons in this one. He knows that pressure is there for the team, especially when you're considering that this team is going to come out of the groups at the top in that seed, and you're expecting them to be the highest seed, kind of be at the top of this whole tournament.
Right.
And it's up to Shifty now to kind of ignite that flame for the team. So I think if there's anybody to really kind of put your eyes on now, I know we were looking at Falcons, but I think I'm looking at them even more going into this next group.
Well, we mentioned the Warzone World Cup, right? Trying to crown yourself as the first champion, but we also talked about club championships. The club championship trophy up for grabs. So much money on the line. If you missed the pre-show, you've got to get caught up. You need to learn what this club championship is all about. Well, let's fill you in.
Introducing the Club Championship. Here's how it works. Each club will have the opportunity to field its rosters across multiple titles. The clubs finishing in the top 8 across each of the 21 titles will receive points based on their placement. For a chance to qualify for the Club Championship, a club needs to place in the top 8 in at least 2 competitions. For a chance to win, a club must finish first in at least 1 competition. Once the tournament has concluded, the top 16 clubs will take a share of the $20 million prize pool, with the first place team claiming the title of the first ever Esports World Cup club champion, as well as receiving a staggering $7 million in prize money.
Such an incredible amount of money. I mean, come on, we're talking about $20 million up for grabs from these clubs, and then also $7 million for first. It's life-changing in a way, right? And who knows what the benefits of that money is going to be for those clubs, right? For those orgs that are representing these incredible teams. Just, again, I am so blown away at how far esports has come since I started back in, 2012, right? Again, I'm old. I know you're only 25, so 11 years ago, here we go.
I was fine. You didn't have to point at me. I was good then.
Is he old too?
No, he's also 25.
Okay, so 25. So when you started your career, you were so many ages old. It's caster math that is actually for some reason difficult for me to do right now. I'm not going to attempt it. But for real though, like so much money to be earned. It's truly special to be on this stage. But we're about to hop into Group C. We've already seen some great plays. We've seen some, some not so great performances, which has been quite tough to say the least. Breadman, I'm curious. I don't know if Breadman was a big narrative whenever it came to those games anyways. I'm hoping to see him in Group C. I believe he's in Group C. If so, then we will get to see those snipes come out. More sniper action, which Puckett wanted. We're going to get that. But I think we're about to get ready for the groups. Let's head over to the STC Arena and start this whole thing back up again.
The best Warzone players in the world are all geared up and absolutely raring to go. They've been split into 3 groups, A, B, and C. And currently, Group C are setting up to go into our 3rd map of the day. But Milos, we've got to say, as we do a little bit of a recap of what's happened so far, what about Smit? What an incredible performance.
Smit has been absolutely incredible. Let's just put some numbers down for you. Not only is he #1, the man has come into 22 kills in 2 maps for a total of 33.2 points. Remember, if you're in first place, that doubles your points. That is in your matchup. But there's still 2 others that were performing quite well. On 3rd place, that was Almond with 16 kills from Fnatic. And then Juki, as we interviewed him earlier from Al-Ula, 12 kills. Hey, it's not just about the kills. It's a bit more to it.
It is indeed. Juki's taking that first win and then Stable J taking the one after. I've just spoken with him and he says he's about to get another one. So keep your eyes peeled for his screen. It's going to be absolutely phenomenal. We've got so much more gameplay coming your way today. So don't go anywhere. Back to the studio.
Well, we're just a couple minutes away now as we're about to hop into our next group play, and I could not be more excited because, hey, those first 2 games were lightning fast, as you would expect when it comes to Resurgence, Rebirth. And I got to say, as we do introduce the new group, my thing, though, is like Group A just played. Group C is now about to go on stage. The jitters might be there, but granted, they got a little bit of a sneak peek of what Group A is all about.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I was still actually on the bit where you guys were talking about your age. I was hoping no one would. But
we don't have to.
No, I'm not. Okay. Yeah, I'm old then. But no, this next group, yeah, as you mentioned, they did get the chance to watch their teammates. Lennon cheering on Juki's in the background. But yeah, kind of gonna be the thing there is, will we continue to see that sniper gameplay? I'm really curious. But Breadman, the myth, the legend. Mouse and keyboard player, guys, we gotta give him his flowers.
Mouse and keyboard player? Actually, that's almost, for me, that's so hard to do, but you gotta give him respect. Respect is due. Sniper, mouse and keyboard, a lot to look out for. Let's bring in our casters, because our casters are ready to go, and I can't wait to talk to them, because it's been a little bit since I had a chance to get up there in the green room and, kind of pick their brain a little bit. Let's bring them in. Who do we got? So, all right, got Goj and Dandro. Good to see you guys. Hey, those first 2 maps, man, were just absolutely insane. Z-Smith taking it all. Group C's coming up, though. Who are we looking out for?
Bro, it's the litmus test, all right? We've already got the litmus test. We dipped it in there. It was acid, man. We got new subs. I'm looking at Knight. Let's see if he can carry the torch forward.
All right.
Acidic, basic, I don't know. But Taylor, get out of here. The game's about to get started, all righty? So, Dan, talk to me about the teams, bro. We got so many subs. We got to bring back the hype. It's a brand new group. We got Brolic coming in. We got Zeppa. We got Jay staying, but Raul coming in for Nate Dogg. Like, brand new players on the map for the first time.
Oh, hey, we saw the interview earlier, and I'm excited to see him on the map. Is Lennon for Tommy as well, right? We saw Juki's take a map. I wouldn't be too surprised if we see another member of Alula take another map as well. I love what Z Smith said, though, where he says, I'm challenging everything. I hope we saw some other people watch that interview and take that advice and start challenging everything, because here's the time to do it, right? We swap groups. You need to keep the momentum rolling.
Yeah, and Shifty on your screen. It's the first time we've seen him on LAN here for the Esports World Cup. Has proven himself on LAN tons of times at this point, but it's time to get into Game 3 of the first day. Solo seeding, folks. Group C, first time on the map. Game 3 overall. Here we go, and right into the mix, Aiden finds one. Aiden says, wake up, gentlemen. We're here. We're ready to rock and roll.
We're kicking it off hot. Aiden on the Twisted Minds. His teammate Z Smith went a little nuclear, let's be honest, in those first 2 maps. Well, he's got his other duo in the lobby here now, looking to make it happen here in map number 3. Kicking it off as we have Hamoud. They said they were going to be landing here at Control Center, and they are looking to keep it moving.
Yeah, I think that's a fun note. We talked about it in the last couple games, is that some of these individuals are saying, hey, this is my drop spot, this is what I know, this is where I want to be. As we swing over it, apparently there's going to be some more people there. So these early gunfights are huge. Huskers is near the bottom of the leaderboard, needs a big map. It's a great way to start. You can take out the drones, get some early cash, get your loadout, and then get onto the map and get moving. The problem with Huskers, frankly, last map wasn't necessarily that he's playing bad. He just kept losing to Z-Smith. And it's like, all right, maybe go somewhere else, because if Z-Smith's on the map, I'm scared. Luckily, Z-Smith's not on the map. Could see Huskers with a big game.
Yeah, I'd love to see that, right? We kind of saw map number 1 didn't really go out well for him. Map number 2, he's getting gunned down by a Bruin from a window. So map number 3, already feeling fantastic for him. Almond, on the other hand, now here over at Prison, trying to make something happen. Tenix has hopped up on top of this little bit of a room here, but Almond going to take a little bit of time to wait. But Tenix still getting aggros. He's shooting down at this player at Grandma's.
It's probably a good time, too. It looked like Almond was maybe trying to make a move. Tenix, yeah, no problem. Grandma's house is his. Looking for the cookies. At least a kill to his name. 1 kill, 2 downs. Looking for more as he hunts down what looks like Knight on the other side. Zix on the other side. A couple people down below, but you don't want to give up your position. Not yet. Got some high ground in. Well, a little bit of a standoff. Jason Trouble is just going to crawl slowly and quietly as far away as possible. Maybe Patsuka might sneak up behind. Jace in trouble from about 5 different angles at this point, hearing footsteps all around. Gonna get out of dodge.
He's making a lot of noise, let's be honest here. You're smashing doors, you're breaking windows. Vision knows exactly where Jace is gonna be. Trying to hold a little bit of a stair glitch here as we are in a standoff on our bellies. Trying to make sure we can find one, but Vision gets some audio behind, but Oki slams on in.
Nice.
Jace takes us as the opportunity, slides on out. Third parties are in very quickly already.
Yeah, welcome to Resurgence, folks. Particularly welcome to solos, all right? Third parties galore. We broke it down in the first 2 maps. When you hear gunfire of 2 different people fighting, maybe more, you swing in and clean up the kills. If you can at least get 1, that's a win. There's always a chance you could get 2. Oki just fell, now flying back in. If Jace can clean him up here, Oki is out of this map. He had a great rep in map number 2 to push himself sizably up the leaderboard, but Jace has a bunch of swimmers all around him and finally catches one. Brolic, welcome to the lobby, and maybe go back to it, my friend. First game on for Brolic, he's out in 40th.
Listen, boys, I understand Riyadh is hot. Everybody is here sweating. That does not mean we all need to go swimming here in map number 3. There's like 8 players that are just out here in the ocean. And Jace, if he plays this right, he could clean up all of them.
Yeah, it's a big moment. Man, we had a lot of big question marks around that Fnatic team. You saw Almond down below Jace right now. And we asked about team chemistry, frankly. We asked about leadership. Well, in solos, they're all some of the best individual skilled players on the map. So Almond is actually near the top of the leaderboard, by the way. You saw that leaderboard a couple times, around 3rd or so as an individual. So excited to see what that total Fnatic squad total will be. Because yes, Z-Smith was at the top, but the question is, where are all of our players' totals at the end of groups today, or at the end of seeding, rather, today? So Jace takes a couple shots, misses a couple, and might shoot over the zip and chase down Oki.
The other side of the map, though, look who it is, Shifty. We were looking for him to come in and kind of start turning up the heat for the Falcons. 3 kills, and you're hearing some of the crowd get wild at that one. We were kind of wondering, when were people going to get a little excited? Well, you get Shifty in the lobby. This is the time for everyone to be online, to be hyped for their team.
I'm hearing a "Let's Go Falcons" chant in the stadium. Welcome home. You're the home team. You better lock and load. Let's get involved. We got to keep our eyes out for Shifty on the kill feed. So we swing over to his POV. He's cleaned up this side of the map and is going to continue to hunt slowly but surely, making sure that no off angle will get him picked, especially by those pesky snipers.
And I love this. He kind of just plays a little bit of a patience, looks towards the left. He sees some shots, he gets it going, but then it's just going to kind of take his time and be there. And you can see the crowd getting wild, getting excited, starting the chants for Shifty. Soka, also the teammate on Team Falcons here in this lobby as well. We saw some plays from Soka in those first 2 games, looking to turn up the heat a little bit more.
Next couple on H. Hamoud. Oh, Hamoud goes down, and unfortunately, a little almost teammate on teammate violence. Hamoud, a local here, falls to the hands of Ahsoka. But right now, it's all Falcons all day as Aiden is now on 6, trying to answer as Z-Smith has left the lobby for him and Knight to clean up. Aiden on 6 with 37 up. This is a great map and should be able to clean up potentially another potential smart move, Dan.
Yeah.
Talk to me about this. We see this in Resurgence often.
Yeah, so Aiden comes on over, finds this player in the water. They're already downed, though. So if Aiden goes ahead and gets the full, he's not going to get credit.
That's
you
right.
want those points, right? So he sees him. That player's like, please, put me out of my misery. Let me get the Resurgence timer cooking. And Aiden hits him with the little left to right stick, saying, no, I'm running away. You can go ahead and self-revive if you want. I'll take the free points.
Well, Aiden on 6, Knight, his teammate, also on this map on 4. That's a total of 10 for this team, but Knight does get fallen, and that's by Prodigy. Prodigy cuts him down and sends him back up into the air. You see a couple players getting eliminated. Quick look at the map here, in the top left-hand corner, very central zone. It is kind of hanging towards quarters, I think, living quarters, which is where Juki's actually got his win, so watch out for a similar circle. But welcome to the party, Raul on 6. First time on the map.
I mean, you're feeling good. You just watch Jay clutch up a map. Your sub is here. Still a little bit middle of the pack on the leaderboard, but 6 kills is definitely a way to kind of start off this new group stage, revitalize your team's points. He's able to find the 1 now, slows it down a little bit, understands Prodigy is up on top, doesn't want to make a movement and just get gunned down from above.
You see off the very edge of the map, Stuo is climbing the ladder slowly and quietly on the ship. Watch out for a potential snipe there from Stuo. Patzuka on 7. These players are getting really aggressive. I think we've figured out the pace of play here in solos. Everybody wants kills. Everybody wants the full send for them. And some players are being paid for it in strides. Teenix on 3, looking to push the equation, getting shot from about 17 angles. Sorry, buddy, you entered the firing range and you're not getting out of it. We'll see if maybe he can try to restabilize it. As Levi finds some loadout weapons on the ground and says, thank you very much. I'll take those.
I literally think those were 10x
yeah,
guns
for sure.
A little bit of a nice gift for you, you know? You come back in off of the Resurgence, you watch someone just get absolutely obliterated, you say, okay, thank you. Let me get back on into the game and keep moving. And Levi looking to put him to work already. Puts down Drake here outside bottom grandma's.
Yeah, Levi literally probably in stadium points over to Tinox. It's just like, thank you very much for that kill, by the way.
Thanks,
I
bro.
appreciate that. Nice little hockey assist. Brett on 3, first time in the lobby as well. This is the player from Group C. First game for him. Can have a total of 3 in a row. And so far, so good. A couple prox mines, by the way, that are his on that buy station. Could be in for a rude awakening if you're looking for a potential gas mask or something.
Yeah, you try and hit that. The prox mines can catch players by surprise, even on loadouts as well. That's kind of the one thing that we see a lot, is players kind of trying to bait those loadouts, use them as almost like a moth to a flame, you know, so much to get players to come on in. It looks like kind of what Noobs is doing something similar with this mobile buy station that's on the boat.
Patzuka, again, on 7, finds News, breaks plates. He's going to have to push the equation. He's got the advantage and gets the cleanup. 1 goes down, should be able to get the full kill without exposing himself to another player on the map. He's on edge. He's cleaned up the POI here. You see this look. There's no one around. The closest players are all the way up, almost all the way to prison. Wars is way deep in industrial, all the way over here in control center. I mean, he's not even close. This could be a massive map for Patzuka.
Yeah, Patzuka is really kind of primed to, if he wants to make a rotate into zone, you get into this power position, you can catch a lot of these players that do have to kind of rotate in from control. You could find a lot of them. We could see Wars kind of trying to hold this top control, maybe do something a little bit similar, kind of looking down towards tents, making sure nobody's landing on his roof and catching them by surprise. Breadman, though, still trying to make some moves, and I believe they know that Believe is here. 98 in hand. I believe kind of swings on out. It's just not enough. Shock 6 coming into play. This isn't the first time we've seen that.
It actually hits Believe here, too. He zoned him off to make sure Believe couldn't go up the stairs as the zone was creeping in. A great play, gets the advantage, has the high ground. Bread, a perfect execution of a high IQ player, and barely loses a plate for it. He is getting shot from a separate angle, but has enough cover, lay down, get the plates in. Hey, you asked the people, is Bread the best sniper in the game? He was hitting a couple, but he knows the game.
Yeah.
In, out, everywhere in between. SMG in hand gets the cleanup.
I see War still sitting over here, control center. He was doing a great job kind of holding it in, making sure nobody could land here, but it doesn't look like he's been able to do so. Coming on in, where can you have it out? Anybody home? Anybody trying to make a move here? I'm not entirely sure. A little bit of respect going on between some of our players.
Yeah, and you know why? It's because that resurgence timer is closed. Yeah, if you die now, you are out of here. Back to the lobby, back to the STC arena. You got to watch out, folks, because you want to keep playing. You want to keep farming kills as Wars is looking for a 7.
I love the patience right now from Wars. He gets that armor crack onto Cams, but doesn't feel like he needs to fly out of this window. Really wants to kind of hold down some of this positioning. You see the smoke come on through. We'll block some of that line of sight. Soka on the other side of the map towards this living quarters area that we were looking at. Currently 4 kills. He knows somebody is below him in this house trying to play around here. Smoke will go out. C4 at the bottom. Might be able to buy him an opportunity to push through these stairs. He's able to do it, and he finds Z Dark. A beautiful play from his Soka on Team Falcons.
The Falcons fans are, well, probably most of the fans in the stadium right now, and they're cheering Ahsoka on. Quick reminder, by the way, Ahsoka's been playing this whole competition thus far. This is his 3rd map. He only had a total of about 9.6 points in the first 2. This is a really big map for him. We're about to get into what looks like a massive multiplier right around the corner. We just hit it, top 15, 1.4, looking for the 1.7 top 5. Shifty fighting Huskers, wants to keep Huskers at the bottom of the leaderboard. You heard the yapping in the interview. Shifty on 7. He's going to reapproach this fight from a different angle. Here's footsteps down below.
Yeah, and I love this. You kind of make a little bit of play out towards the gas. You catch Cams trying to be able to fly in and out, but it's not going to be enough. And look who's back on top. They're getting the shots in. He hops in the vehicle. It's the great escape for Shifty right now. The only problem is you're playing in gas for a long time, so even if you do make it back into zone, you are going to go down very quickly.
Yeah, no gas mask to speak of as well, so he had to get the zone quickly. A fantastic high IQ play for Shifty to keep his dreams alive. Aiden on 11. Woo! We had a question if the Twisted Mind squad was going to be on top. There's almost zero question at this point. Z-Smith put his team on top. Aiden says, let me carry the burden, my friend. Let us continue to run through the competition. We've got the confidence. Speaking of confidence, Shifty finds Zix. See ya later. Squad wipe. Crowd goes wild. Shifty on 8.
And look, Soka, the teammate, finds Aiden on the other side. That's a squad wipe. Aiden taken on out by his Soka. We potentially could see some Falcons on Falcons action here towards the end of the game, but not just yet, because Breadman is waiting. Puts Shifty right into the oven, says, have some bread, my boy.
It's actually a huge kill by Breadman, by the way. Look at this. Just now got to top 5. 1.7 multiplier is active. Shifty just barely missed out on that. Has a 1.4. Still a great game, but not an amazing one. Bread catches another opponent unaware. High IQ's paying off. 6 kills and a dream. We've got 2 more players. Can Breadman close it out?
I mean, he's in a really solid spot right now. He's kind of playing the high ground. You can see that he's not in zone, but I don't know if that really matters. You can make some sort of gas play. He has 14 plates to his name, and you can see he has the Car 98. Levi's gone wide here, though, and is trying to catch Bread on out. Bread, though, using the quickness here of the gas to be able to try and play out. Slowly but surely, the gas is ticking down as he is playing this wall. But Raul waiting nearby. The shots go on in. Breadman trying to stay alive, but it's the turn and burn from Bread.
Breadman still alive, finally gets cut down, but gets paid with another kill. A massive victory. Breadman was close, but no cigar, folks. At the end of the day, you gotta have resources, and a huge win from Levi.
Levi, I love the play at the end there. Just goes out into the gas to swing wide, kind of forces Bread to go down low, and he just takes all of that space. So even though maybe he doesn't get some of those last eliminations, he sets himself up for the win. And honestly, that's just a really, really smart thing to do.
Yeah, I loved that play from Levi. And again, it was a battle of resources. Like, it's not often you see in games in Warzone where nobody has a gas mask. And so nobody can really play inside the gas for very long, especially as you hang out there for too long, it starts really chunk of your health. So if you're not careful, you're going to get killed by the gas, not even another player. But a huge congratulations to Team Na'Vi with a big win there. They needed it. They were around the middle of the pack overall. All the players been doing decent.
Yeah.
We needed a big win. Levi gets it. Very, very well done.
Yeah, and I think what we just even saw there, even with the shift in group change, players, I think, realize they got to come out swinging right now. A very much more aggressive game. I think we saw a lot more kills on the board there in this sort of first matchup of Group A versus Group C.
Yeah, I love to see Breadman, though, on the map. I think obviously a huge value add for the team. Everybody thinks he's a good sniper. We've talked about that 1,000 times, but it's his IQ, man. This guy knows how to win. He knows how to get to end game, and he's so good in 1v1 situations because he knows how to play the game just better than other people with positioning. Yes, he's a keyboard and mouse player. Yes, at close range, that's difficult. You don't have aim assist. Get over it, says Brett, because it doesn't matter. If you put yourself in the right position and you got good aim, you can always win the gunfight.
Well, I think that's a really interesting thing to bring up because, you know, whatever, there's that ever-loving debate, whatever, controller versus mouse and keyboard. But I know kind of talking to Brett, one thing he's really kind of taken to heart is that, yes, I have learned how to play my particular input, right? He knows how to position himself, like you said, because he knows that he's not going to win those up-close and personal gunfights. So puts himself towards that mid-range. He's able to do it, but unfortunately, it is Levi at the end. And it was a PDS that Levi was able to use to give him the play.
Yeah, I was going to say, he was out there for a while without a gas mask. Here's the final moment, the final kill, and yet again, it was another third party, a fantastic execution of his plan, I am sure. Levi said, I want to play the edge. I want to make sure they fight before I have to fight them. You actually saw in that fight with Breadman, he backed off first to make sure Bread rotated the other way when they got each other weak, and then that forced the encounter. Bread wins the fight, but Levi cleans him up.
Yeah, really, really solid. I know, you know, Na'Vi as an organization, they were super hyped to be here in Call of Duty Warzone. They pick up this squad. They've been hyping them up on social media. It's got to feel good to finally have somebody on your team take a map win. You're feeling great, and you're setting yourself up for success for the rest of the day.
A ton of success, a lot more to play for, though. Let's head back to the desk. Taylor, Reflections Noble, how the heck you doing over there, my friend? How about a Na'Vi victory, huh?
Hey, big wins, right? That was a pretty good game as far as I'm concerned. Even looking at Shifty, like Shifty makes a pretty deep run, but I love that disengagement that he did. Right, top prison, drops down in the smoke. He's getting lasered from up top, even down low. What does he do? Well, he hops in the vehicle, gets away. Like, sometimes in Warzone, right, it's not just about the engagement. It's about getting into the fights. It's about disengaging as well. And I think, I don't know, Dandro, some of the best, man, they're able to disengage pretty well.
I feel like it's exactly what it was. So I'm curious to see what do some of the analysts have, because I know Seymour and Brody were waiting and watching that game, waiting to break it all down. I can't wait to see what they have to say.
Well, they definitely were, and I tell you what, Brody's out for the moment anyways. We'll pop in Dream. We get to talk about it, and Seymour as well. Welcome back to the analyst desk. That is third game on broadcast, but the first game for Group C, right? And a chance to really see what they were all about. And I tell you what, it did not disappoint. Breadman in second place is a big one, but I think first let's start off with number one, and that has to be Levi.
Yeah, I mean, that is huge for Na'Vi in general. A newer org in the Call of Duty scene. We haven't really seen them around these parts before, but it looks like Levi's trying to shoot them up the leaderboards now because they didn't have a good showing in our first two matches. You saw that Limax was all the way near, I think it was like bottom 2 or bottom 3, or Limax wasn't playing too well. Yeah. So it's nice to see that Levi is coming to play here in Group C, trying to buff out those mistakes early on to try to get yourself a good end towards these groups. And I think towards the end, it comes down to the basics of Warzone, really. That height control over Breadman and Raul, instead of, you know, allowing them to keep up top. It was good play style from Levi.
You know, and I just wanted to add to that Limax played with Breadman last year, right, with Joe. So it's just like, kind of like old teammate. And I know that wasn't necessarily it, but still, Levi to be able to take that, you know, there's got to be some motivation, at least from Limax's end. But
let's get in there.
Let's get in there, right? But no, although I will say that Raul, yes, how amazing was it to see him maybe feeding off that energy, momentum teams we talked about, feeding that momentum into this game. Like, that's awesome to see Raul keep it slaying. But you notice a lot of these players were backing down, right?
Yeah.
Disengaging is super important, as you'd mentioned. And that's just going to be the key for some of these teams. Like, just the balance between being too aggressive, overly aggressive, but disengaging. And that play from Shifty, big brain, super, super key.
It was, and again, just to highlight that once more, Shifty to disengage in the way that he did was truly special. Like in those moments, I think 99% of the players competing are most likely dead in that moment, right? You're not getting away from. I mean, seriously, you're not getting away. Well, you're not one of the players. If you were, you'd be making a lot of money, and then I'd become your best friend. I already am. Let's be honest. But hey, Shifty to back away like that was really impressive to me. To get away, ultimately he's finished up. Breadman was waiting in the shadows, right, just to kind of ruin his day. After Shifty makes a miraculous play, Breadman's like, well, hold up, I'm not done just yet, and takes him out. But if, looking at the highlights, you understand, like, what really took place. Husker started us off strong with the down, the finish. Breadman was also there. Patsuka, let's talk about him. What was he doing on the battlefield?
I mean, it's another one where you're just kind of trying to buff things out for your team here. Vitality did not have a good first 2 games either, and Patsuka coming in, showing some good promise for this team. I know, we talked about how they have that language barrier. Patsuka coming in, showing that it's all down to the slang as well. But, Jace, that was a funny moment, shooting fish in the barrels with that Car 98. I love to see just the fun moments here, but most importantly, that Vitality team, we know them to be renowned as one of the most dangerous teams in EU, and it's good to see Patsuka finding for him.
Can we just talk about how Hisoka and Shifty kind of had a little one-on-one earlier in the game? Really? Like it seems like the Falcons can only just take each other out at this point. But we have like Biffle and earlier. Yeah, but yeah, no, these engagements definitely seemed more fast-paced. And yeah, Jace in the beginning. And what was surprising about that? I think offline Brody had mentioned it. It's surprising to see like he was sniping Allman. I don't know if Wars of their Huskers, but you saw like good players hanging out in the beginning on the water edges. But kind of like, as we had mentioned, less snipers.
Right.
We thought it would be more, but there was less this one.
Yeah, it's also too dependent on zone. I'm curious how impactful they would have been. Now, I do know there was a moment, again, when Shifty was disengaging, there was a ton of teams on top of Prison. And that would have been a perfect place to kind of, lay down the line of sight for the snipers. So I thought that would come out a little bit more there, but once we rotated down towards Factory Lake, that's where things started to get a little bit weird.
It's a little wonky there, because you were watching Jace, and you saw how many people were doing cannonballs into the water, and all of a sudden the gas is pulling onto the other side of Prison, and everybody has to go across Prison, so it just creates that big jumble on the inside that you did see. And I do kind of personally expect there to be a little bit less snipers, because it is Resurgence and it is solos. There's not a lot of time to really breathe before somebody just jumps on you. So you don't always want to have a sniper in your back pocket.
That's right.
I kind of like that strategy. Like, okay, guys, if we're dropping in, where are we landing? Where are we landing?
Right.
No, I'm asking, where are we landing?
I'm going Factory.
You're going Factory? See,
I'm landing in the water.
Okay, the rotations, that's the thing. You think about the POIs. Factory, sometimes it's just so hard to rotate out of there. I kind of like the Control Tense rotation, right? A little bit more cover, but even, running up to Prison, the verticality going from Factory up to Prison can be very difficult.
Brutal.
It is brutal. But the key thing about Factory is you do get a lot of loot. You can pick up a lot of your weapon, a lot of resources early.
Right.
So, yeah, high risk, high reward. You got to just figure out what's best for you.
And that's true. The thing about Rebirth is it's extremely punishing. If you're caught out on rotation, like especially now with the cars, cars, right? It was obviously the sniper car, like it was nerfed, but like not so much to the point where it became irrelevant. It's still very much relevant. That's why we see it consistently. So you better believe if you're rotating late, you are going to get your head popped off. We've seen that consistently. But Rebirth, again, punishing. You have to have your rotations on point and be predicting ahead of time, especially if you're Factory and you can see the zone's going to be pulling up top Prison. You have to get a move on.
I mean, how many surprises are we going to have today so far? We got helicopters, we got cars, we got Jay coming out and winning in place of Destroy.
That was incredible.
Today, if this is how the next 3 days are going to be, I'm strapped in, I'm locked in, I'm ready to go.
100%, man. It's already been great. 3 games down. Granted, it's only solos. Imagine when we get to the point of group play, right, tomorrow and day number 3, let alone championship day, like things are just going to get even more wild. But I do believe we have an interview with Shifty, if I'm not mistaken. Goj, what did Enigma, what did Shifty have to say? Are we bringing in our casters? It's time to go to another game. Are we bringing in the game?
Bring it to me!
Oh,
this is the problem, Reflections.
Look.
It's Shift and Shifty We're being real confusing out here for you.
Hey, look, first off, it's great to see you. Let me just say that, okay? Enigma, you're looking great, too. You guys are a duo for the age. Don't stop that, all right? Look, it's going to be a good day because, hey, game number 4, right? Group C's been taken over, and let's see if they can continue that narrative.
Yeah, I think the thing here, guys, that you're hitting it on the head when it comes down to what we've already evaluated to this point, plus what's yet to come. Think about it is, does Shifty have to now be the guy to get Team Falcons back in the running? Because they're a little bit outside the conversation in terms of major seeding from today so far.
Absolutely has to, quite frankly. I mean, don't get me wrong, seeding, and you can overcome that in upcoming days. This is not the be-all and end-all for sure, but this is not what we were expecting, right? A lot of people have come into the interviews and through the media day now. All the conversations offline as well. Who's the best player in the world? Shifty. Well, it's more than ample time here to prove that you deserve that label.
And I think the thing that's really cool about this conversation is, I think Katie Bedford said it in the opening ceremony last night. Everyone's talking about this Team Falcons team as this is their event to lose. Like, they should be the heavy, heavy favorites. But we forget sometimes that as much as they do find collective wins, we have a long history of what's happened in terms of Warzone as a collective whole. And when you swap from Big Map into Resurgence, everything kind of almost gets thrown out in the window a little bit.
No, it does for sure. It brings out something different, but the quality that team possesses, we should still be seeing that same Team Falcons, the side that said when coming into this tournament, if they win this and a couple of other big events this summer, they're a dynasty side. So time to see if they can step it up. And we're already underway here in map 4. A couple of kills coming on through. Can see Prodigy, Vision, Cams all lighting up the kill feed here.
Absolutely the case. And again, the early kills we've already kind of evaluated over the first 3 drops can be crucial. But we've seen a handful of players get to that end of the 3rd circle at 6, 7 eliminations, but not playing good positions. It ends up finding themselves outside the circle and outside of the major multipliers that we're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, it's a double-edged sword in the way in which you play, and especially on Resurgence, it's a case of, if you get those early kills, then you alleviate some pressure for the late game. You don't have to start to push through difficult positions up against players that are having an absolute heater. Meanwhile, if you're putting yourself on too much of a heater early on, you risk getting gunned by someone else.
Yeah, that has been, I think, the big factor. And we've also seen just the other side. You could find kills and play it safely just by scouting out who's parachuting into the water. It's just using that as kind of a farming point. So we'll see what the players decide to do here, especially as they get their 2nd, 3rd, and then unfortunately 4th drops individually as our groups continue to move forward. So Zix in particular on screen at the moment. And again, this is a team that could really use some points here, not doing all that well at the moment.
No, they are not. And essentially the home side, we've used that phrase a lot, I feel, already through the show. But this is 2 lads who are from Riyadh. They could walk to the arena, so they definitely want to be putting on a show. But it's not been their afternoon thus far. Very impressive in the World Series. They've improved every step of the way, but they're going to need to find a bit more about them today.
Absolutely the case. And just taking a look over it, Lukiness, Juki's early lives down. Wars as well also falling, as Guild Esports has been one of the major favorites, I think, for a lot of people who are looking at the EU space. Of course, I know you're obviously very biased. So between them and Alalula, that means sitting number 2 and number 3 at the moment in the overall team rankings, that's got to feel pretty good for the EU region.
Yeah, it feels great. I won't lie, at the minute, seeing the boys put on, they've been talking a lot on the timeline. If we remove that ping factor, we can do big things. And, well, they're showing that nice and early on day 1. Obviously, we've got a long way to go. Yes, Stukex. Just going to give Jace a moment here to potentially res, as it wasn't his knock, and will Jace pull it on through? I don't think Jace is willing to just give this up to Stukex.
Look at me, dude. I'm sticking myself. Look, trust me. And he tries to finesse it, but not going to work out. So the strategy ends up working out for the extra kill. Just 1 overall elimination to this point, and this is when we start to see everyone's starting to drop back in. We're going to get a lot of those water safety drops.
Yeah, we are indeed, and it's about who can start to play around that, as we saw Jace do earlier, maybe pick off a couple of easy kills. Meanwhile, Aiden has opted for Prison, a relatively uncontested space for once here. Maybe a case of people looking to play around the outside of the map, a bit more safety, and then collapse on in. But 3 kills already. It looks like Aiden may well have just laid siege to this whole arena.
And if that ends up being the case where he can just dominate the middle of the map like this with his preferred loadout, yikes. Watch out. He very well may overtake his teammate for top overall kills to this point. Clean initially, but woo, Maddie with a little drop shot pop up. Won't call it a full-on World Star turn on, but boy, it was close. I mean,
That exactly there is one of those moments that we are seeing throughout this tournament and how quickly your game can swing, right? We're talking about how good Aiden's looking, could well take kill leader off this back of this map, and then gets absolutely beamed by a player that he's probably not expecting to be challenging him.
Talking about things that to be expected. On a scale of 1 to 10, how surprised are you that Breadman's sitting on top of a tower with a sniper rifle right now?
I'm going to go with about a -4.
He's just looking to farm people coming out of the sky and, of course, see who he can find on rotation. Circle is still very forgiving in terms of where we're currently standing, but 4 players already out. Make that now another, as we're going to see number 37 in Wars actually down. So one of the members from Guild already down and out. Not the greatest drop for Wars initially. And we go back to Breadman, who's doing his Breadman thing.
He is indeed. Well, I was going to say he gets Brolic, but actually at the exact same time, Dongi's shooting him from elsewhere. Dongi gets that kill in the end. But yeah, this is exactly what Breadman said he was going to do in the interview that I had with him yesterday. He's going to find this kind of position. He's even going to look to do this kind of thing when we talk trios as well, provide coverage over his teammates. So, I mean, maybe just getting an early feel, a bit of lay of the land as Lennon looks to find himself some fish in a barrel.
And this is what we saw Breadman doing last game, where you're just waiting to see if anyone's going to drop over towards their loadouts in the water. You also see the laser up top, so Lennon can be a little bit careful as it is Izund right over the top of him. Not a great start here for Zund and Co., but things could change very rapidly as we've already seen. Zeppa down and out as well. So again, a lot of early full-on eliminations at this point, still in the second circle.
It is. Indeed, and we're starting to see a couple of players get compressed together. That prison spot no longer as quiet as it once was. Zix and Tenix are going to try and fight over the same spot, but Zix actually loses his face to Hoskers, and, well, Tenix actually looking to play in through the bottom, but has a couple of suppression mines to clear. Is likely going to suspect players above. Of course, we can see that we've just lost Zix up there, but he has absolutely no idea and currently trying to assess the situation, but it looks like there's actually a new person who's taken the whole region.
Dropping in, coming back forward, of course, with loadouts rather dropping in. Everyone's starting to find a way to, in this mid-game portion, get themselves kitted out for the late status. Lennon just waiting at this moment. A couple of players nearby, kind of, if he does have to rotate more central into the island, but largely speaking, he's going to be very safe. And with 7 kills already, I think this is the time where you got to evaluate, I've already hit my mark, let me at least try to get to the top 15.
No, I agree completely. I think that once you start to put on a certain amount of kills, and that might well be where you're considering to start to temper yourself and maybe consider to play around the positional multipliers. And Patsuka here just looking to chase down Believe, has him cornered, isn't able to get some clean shots in. Actually takes quite a bit of damage on the way back, but just does enough to shut down Believe there, as it looks like he was going to make the outplay, but he has more company. Bullets in the back, going to have to dive out the window and likely going to be pressed here. Needs a moment to just breathe and allows himself a second to reset.
Yeah, clean. And again, you can see it on the minimap, 3 players nearby, but all the elevation that comes to the building kind of deterring them from finding each other and actually taking the next gunfight. Also a player rotating in. So this is about to get a little bit messy. That's Hamoud who's on his way forward, and he's not going to have a lay of the land. So he's just diving on forward, trying to see if he can get good contact, but Patsuka perfectly prepared for it. Finds himself kill number 4, and then trying to third party. Yep, that will play. So an opportunity to try to get a couple for Patsuka, but he's got to reset.
He is indeed, and we still have 32 players up. This feels like a little bit of a slower map than the ones that we've been watching throughout this tournament so far. Maybe sides trying to adjust their strategies. A couple of players not getting off to the hot starts that they've wanted and looking to reassess how they play. And Nena's here looking to just take control of industry and give himself an opportunity here to patrol the edge of this circle as it squeezes up.
And this is all about, yeah, I was going to say, perfect time to take a look at who's actually rotated in early. Prison is still one of the main focus points as Breadman continues to find himself in the kill feed. That's got to be at least 5 for him to this point.
At least.
So that's a good start in terms of how you get yourself going. Believe has been squad wiped out, so that's another kind of key team to keep our eye on here as this circle starts to close on in, and eventually we're going to deal with no more respawns.
Vision is on 12. I mean, we've been talking a lot about what Guild are potentially bringing to the table here. We saw that King AJ had himself a solid performance earlier. Vision as well has been looking really good throughout his, but 12 at this stage, 30 players still remaining in this, along with the resurgence timer, of course. Opportunity to potentially break 20. A lot to do yet, but looking real hot. Stu, another European trying to pick out Liam, and, well, he's going to have to chase after. Didn't do enough, and he's got company from elsewhere. Bullets catch him from the side.
Yeah, that's going to keep him at least staying on this rooftop while he's in pursuit. And this is an interesting rotation all the way over towards the backside of the freight ship. And Elo's right below him, but this is all about him again. I think just playing for position. You're at 10 kills already. You got to be feeling really solid about your opportunity to actually score some points, where others are dropping in just looking for safety and just trying to keep their lives.
You're not wrong. Speaking of safety, Brolic here trying to use the top of the water tower to protect himself. Has Breadman underneath him. I'm not exactly sure how Breadman's not recognize that Brolic's above him and likely will at some point. The silencer on that sniper potentially just keeping him covered momentarily. Lucario in hand. We'll hear Brolic above because Brolic's actually just cleaned out Hisoka. And the team Falcons continue to struggle here, Shift.
It's really just been Shifty, the only one who's been able to put together really any notable kills to this point, let alone placements. So top 30 only gets you a 1.2 times multiplier. The next checkpoint we're looking for is to see who can crack to the top 15 as we head over to, again, a replay of what Patsuka's been able to do over through the inside. Now he finds himself, again, a little bit trapped and gate kept as this is all about what can you find from here trying to rotate through. Breadman still very worried about Brolic up top, and rightfully so after the threat had already been established.
It's a problem for him looking to rotate on off there, right? Whoever makes that first jump is likely going to be shot by the other. You've got to assume that Brolic landed on top of that water tower, so likely looking low on resources, so he might have to go first with no gas mask, but does Brad have the gas mask to counter that play himself? Hilo actually finds Stuo. Stuo ends up going out, and, well, Bread gets pushed. Brolic deals with him. Bread's out of here.
That is perfect timing, because you're dealing with now circle number 4 starting to come together. And Brolic has now owned some high ground as he's going to have to parachute in towards the safer circle. And the wipes continue on coming. Again, 3 more is what we need before we get into that next multiplier. And then we're dealing with just looking for the top 5 as we head back over to see how Vision's doing on 14. And yeah, the call at this point is at least get top 15, but ideally, brother, let's find a way to get top 5.
Yeah, 100%. You get yourself that top 5, you get yourself that 1.7. I mean, you are starting to put yourself in the higher numbers of individual games that we've seen throughout this entire tournament. You know, the kind of numbers we're talking about, Z-Smith off of drop 1, but there's a lot of company here in Showers, a couple of players to just pay attention to. And the problem is with this whole prison region, there's so many entryways, so many exits, there's a lot to keep track of.
Indeed the case. It looks like he's just trying to find himself a little bit of a corner. Smoke still 2 to play with, but finds himself now right into a cell. And this is exactly what it is. I mean, this is a confirmation that Vision is just sitting here saying, just don't, where's Waldo? Just don't find me. It's a game of hide and seek for him while everyone else is still trying to fight for some positioning. Circle's going to close. Where are we going to get pulled to?
Yeah, well, Lennon's trying to play too late there. That's a difficult rotation to make. It's uphill. It's against the grain. Nizand will just shut him down and remove him from the board. Looked like Lennon earlier was getting off to a solid start, but that'll bring his reign to an end. And, well, you can see here, this is where we start to get that view from the wonderful COD caster that we have available of all the players trying to set up for end-game positions.
And this is the thing, is this circle is pulled extremely south and west of where we were from before. So this is all about, again, try to own this high ground, which Oki is really committing a lot to. A little bit of a dash right on forward. Oki doesn't like the look of it through the smoke, so backs off, seeing if maybe he can kind of surprise from the low ground. But any Star Wars fan will know you don't want to fight from the low ground, especially off of a reset, which it looks like we're starting to get, and Oki will have to forfeit the position.
Honestly, this looks a little bit nervy from Oki. He's an individual player with a lot of gun skill, a lot of ability to take on these 1v1 fights, but wasn't quite sure about how to play that one. I think it's the aggression from Tenix that surprises him a little bit. The fact that he was willing to jump out of the tower towards him, fight over this positioning. You can see H-Mood in particular having the building here center off the next zone, and Tenix is going to contest him for it.
Yeah, and they may hear each other here. They're both pretty privy to take this gunfight. Speaking of things as well that we saw earlier, Patsuka having a great map in a good position to continue as Vision now makes himself active, forced to because of the zone. He's won prison out completely, so now everything else is just going to be right in front of him. Most notably, just the players that are kind of holding into the central buildings, which he even sees Almond at range. Vision's on a burner.
One problem here for Vision is he's got to make that play, right? He has to make that dive, burn the gas mask out from spending too long in prison. Will not get the top 5, falls just short, but will get that top 15 multiplier at least. Hamoud then, tucked inside. Oki has managed to pick his roof back up from after being pushed away by Tenix, and spots Stable J underneath, lights up a couple of bullets. The gas goes out, and it is connecting. Will force Stable J out of the cover. A great play from Oki, but he's got more company here. What can he do? And he explodes, and those are the kind of things that Oki can deliver.
And now he's got the high ground. You've got Tenix who's still trying to work around the backside of this smoke. The rotating zone will get him into the back corner of it. Dongi also putting together a solid game on 9 kills. Is in a good spot to just kind of read where the next rotations are coming from, but will he know that Tenix is right around the corner?
You feel like everyone just holds their breath. Who blinks first? Well, Oki is going to try and ask a couple of questions from the high ground here, looking out over the top. He's got Dongi off to his left. Tenix down to his right.
This is legitimately the definition of Mexican standoff. Where does the zone pull? Tenix is going to be the first one to move. Oki right over the top. Depending on what his timing is, could set up to actually watch this rotation. Dongi, not going to be the first one to shoot. Wants to be the third partier here, but Oki gets the damage in and finishes off 10x really cleanly. So now we've got a delayed 1v1. Oki, the one that has to make the move, but Dongi gets obliterated. I mean, are we kidding? What a little head glitch on top of the rocks. And Oki finishes off the last couple of kills to take the dub.
I mean, I'm just going to go back to that play he made on the rooftop, right, against Hamoud. The fact that he gets pushed in that second fight, you could easily see the end of your reign there, but he spins, snaps, delivers in a huge 1v1 and sees it out with some fantastic endgame positioning. Just having that little heady over the top there gives him all the angles he needs. And as you said, you made your Star Wars reference there, my friend. You want the high ground.
Goodness gracious. That is great news for Team Abwiz, which, again, we weren't really sure what to expect from this squad because Abwiz got, you know, in some words, kind of gifted a little bit of a captain spot, but, you know, hey, you find yourself fortunate to have the opportunity, and he puts together an incredible team. They were sitting in 4th overall before these results came through, so they got to be feeling really decent about their chances at this point to put together a really solid seed going into the rest of the groups.
Absolutely. I think it'll put a lot of belief into them as well. I mean, we spoke a little bit about this in the pre-show, and this is a lineup of players that, especially Wiz and Oki, we were speaking about them not long ago as being a duo that were very exciting coming through into the customs and looked to be the real deal. And then last year played with FIFA Kill in the World Series. It was a bit underwhelming, to be completely honest with you. And it was like, okay, how do you bounce back from that disappointment when FIFA Kill leaves you behind? Well, Oki is delivering right now through this year and is doing it again here at the Esports World Cup.
And that puts him, I'm sure, in a really good position in the individual kill leaderboard as well as the overall individual score leaderboard, which is what we're looking for. So Team Ab was credited with the W here in drop number 4, and it could not be calmer for Oki overall. He's just like, all right, what's next? it's unreal.
I don't know about you, but if I just pulled off a performance like that at the Esports World Cup at that age, I would have been freaking out. But he just seems like it's another given Sunday for him, so he's just going to get himself sorted, get himself out of here, and seems to have a conversation there with Allman. I think that's one of the great things about this whole competition so far. The players seem to be very much enjoying each other. But we are going to get a last look out over this play.
This has to be a nasty heady. I mean, even looking down towards Dongi's position, he didn't show much, so this must have been an absolute snap and a half. How do you see this? Because it's initially smoke that comes through. There's the damage. 10x, I imagine just, okay, very cleanly finished with the Car 98. That was right after the double smokes had been popped. So this is just about Oki finding the info and, whoa, I mean, melted.
Absolutely beams him. I mean, again, you do have that position, but you've got the situation where the wall can cover up there. It can make that fight difficult for you, but he does not miss a single shot. Again, showing why he had that reputation, showing the kind of technical ability he brings to these fights.
And maybe if we're being like overcritical, Dongi maybe gets a little bit or a little antsy because the kill comes out. It's just like, is he right in front of me?
Yeah.
So he tries to peek it, but the rotation hadn't happened yet because of how clean the first kill was from Oki. It's great stuff from him.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely spot on. You're maybe trying to third party this situation, right? You could see that he didn't want to shoot first. He was going to let everything unfold in front of him and then go, surprise, I'll clean this all out. No, you just got absolutely smoked by Oki on a heater. And again, I repeat, I go back to that play that he made on that rooftop. If he falls there, which I think if he had fallen, we'd have been like, oh yeah, fair enough. You've been third partied at the end of a gunfight, fair enough, whatever. But the fact that he snaps on there keeps that streak alive. Again, putting belief into a young man who, I think if you light a fire under him, he's a real powerhouse.
And I think overall, this sparks a conversation that's going to transition from what, you know, the conversation has been around Big Map World Series of Warzone in particular is there is not much of a window when it comes to finishing off a gunfight. You either need to know, I'm in, I can finish this, or this isn't clean. I got to back off and make sure I deal with the potential of a third, fourth, fifth party when it comes to things in Resurgence. So lots of interesting things already just past the halfway point in our solos drop as Taylor and the rest of the desk break everything down for us.
Well, there it is. The first introduction of Group C has concluded, and that would be the last game for Group A, right? They get all 4 of them done. Group B still has to get 2 more themselves. But that was 2 quick games, as we've already seen, right, from the first iteration where Group A versus B. But the big thing here is not necessarily the most dominant player, but at least the most dominant when it came to our final game was Oki taking the win.
And he, you know, he comes in second place all the way back in game number 2.
That's
Oki's been playing fantastic. It all comes down to, you know, Enigma early on, giving a big shout to Oki and Awiz, their whole team just coming up. They've been playing fantastic lately, and I think that to see Oki doing it over the course of not just one group, but 2 groups. It's showing that consistency here that, you know, even with new players in the lobby, he's still here to play. And another top 3 finish, a top 2 finish, that's amazing.
Amazing indeed.
Yeah, I was going to say I could add a point to that too, because like with Oki, he's just one of those players that would thrive in this setting, because you remember him playing with FIFA Kill when he played with FIFA and Wiz, and like it was just this problem where, okay, you see Wiz and Oki going out, okay, gotta reel the boys back in, but for this setting for Oki, like he can just literally thrive, pick up a lot of those eliminations, and like, I mean, you just saw it right there. He's looking pretty scary.
And I mean, to see the top third too, Tenix in there as well from Omid, I mean, we didn't really talk much about Omid coming into this one, but it's a huge, huge tournament for these players, especially under the brand of Omid. You know, players who are kind of left out of the rest, players who don't really have a home. That's the brand of Omid. And, you know, they separate into the World Series of Warzone. They find their struggles. They come back together for EWC, and now to see Tenix in top 3, that is really big.
It is big. Tenix, you know, was in a bad position, though. He was by tens, and he gets sniped out from Zidongi, who takes second place. So good on him for doing so. Zidongi, ringing a bell for you anyways, right, coming out from the fantasy team?
I mean, you know, Dongi hasn't really been playing the best today. I know that, especially in games 1 and 2, but it's nice to see him get a top 2 finish here. Tough spot being on the low ground. We know from the movies how the low ground goes, but you know, for Dongi here, it doesn't work out either.
Doesn't work out, but second place. He'll take that to the bank. That's okay, and at least show some new life. As we look through the highlights, you have to respect, though, some new positioning. And before we get into positioning, I want to talk about the regain. Regaining is so important when it comes to Resurgence. You're bound to die at least a couple of times. So whenever you go to drop in again, Dream, what are you doing?
So let's just use this scenario. We're playing, right? What do you guys are used to hearing when you're playing ranked play even? Regain spot, right? You're thinking the boats. One thing that I noticed that we've seen lurking around the boats is Pasuka, right? So you got some good players lurking around the boats, but what's great about it is like you're thinking, all right, I can just regain here, but there's a good player with a loadout just come and smash you. Like he had 10 eliminations, so that you got to figure maybe these boats for some of these good players can be a good spot to utilize to just pick up players as they're trying to regain in.
Yeah.
Could be. You know, boats, it's interesting because they're on the outside, so you think they're relatively safe, and it could be a regain spot. But you were saying, though, there were some top players actually hanging out around those boats looking for those looking to go for the regain. So that makes things a little bit scary, too, because you never know who you're going to be landing on. And weirdly enough, we've been seeing a lot of people try to regain in the water.
Yeah, in the water, you saw Jays kind of picking them apart in the last game. We see the boats. Now it's punishing them over to Patsuka and the rest of Team Vitality. It's the same thing with Schmidt back in our first set of games as well, why he drops that 14-kill game. It's players taking advantage of other players putting themselves in bad situations, and there's no worse situation than when you're just respawning back into Resurgence.
Yeah, and as we just saw there, too, Vision's just completely, like, dominating every single level of Prison. Yes. And I mean, like, look at how many eliminations he has. But the great thing about Prison is you can escape and recover so quickly and dodge so fast. So even for Oki, who, again, just picking up kills on the high ground over here on the opposite side, rotating from Living. But either way, like, the levels of this like type of competitive play, you have to be able to get out fast. And I mean, for Prison, that's just a really key spot. Visions, he picked up a lot of eliminations, possibly our lobby leaderboard in for elims or top per map.
I mean, in general, I think he picks up the most, if I'm not mistaken.
It was the kill record, 15.
Kill record. There you
go. He beat Smith out from that first 2 games. We thought that, you know, maybe Z Schmidt comes out here and he's just at the top with Twisted Minds. And then, you know, seeing Visions come out here for Guild. I'm sure, you know, Brody, he's not with us right now on the desk, but I'm sure he's just all giddy seeing his team.
He's with the cat.
Exactly. He's with the cat. Just happy to see Guild doing well.
Vision, man. He was at 14 very early on. I think he finishes with 15. He might have got maybe one more, but either way, he picks up the elimination lead. As far as the 4 games we've seen today, so will we hit 20? See, that's the big thing. 20 is always a magical number. And whenever I'm watching, you know, streamers play or competitors compete, it's like 20 on Rebirth. Can they hit it? And in fact, sometimes they're like, hey, other players back off. Don't pick up that final one because I'm at 19 and I'm going for 20. So you're hoping at least your teammates are on board with that, not feeling a bit stingy themselves. But Breadman, first introduction in here. He comes in. We talk about his sniping abilities. What did we notice from him in Game 4?
I mean, I was really impressed with him in game number 3 when he was playing very dynamic with the sniper. He was moving around. You even saw him have a really good moment versus Shifty, where he's kind of playing that space, forcing Shifty to get aggressive onto him. But in game number 2, you know, it's very traditional to see the snipers get posted up and towards a high ground position like the water tower, and you hope that it's going net you a lot of kills. But for Breadman, it seemed like it wasn't really in his favor with everybody trying to take him down or people just leaving him alone. It really comes down to you hitting those shots. And I know, everybody in their interviews were saying they take Breadman over Huskers when it comes down to those snipers. But it just doesn't seem like it is going to net you the amount of kills that's going to shoot you up the leaderboard like you were hoping to.
Yeah, I know Danjo ended up asking me, like, Huskers or Breadman. I'm like, oh, it has to be Breadman as my top sniper
Bucket
out
hat
there.
B.
Bucket Hat is going big, baby. But I will say this, Breadman, we had a chance to actually interview him. Let's hear what Breadman had to say.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Esports World Cup here in Riyadh. I am Enigma, and today we're doing interviews, and I am joined by one of the best players in the world, and that is Breadman. How are you doing today?
I'm feeling amazing, bro. I'm feeling amazing. I'm just happy to be here.
How are you feeling about the week ahead? How are you feeling about the tournament as a whole?
I like how it's spread out. I feel like we've got time to kind of get nice and nestled in and get used to everything. But being on the keys, like, it's all about the game time. So I'm really excited to just get my equipment in there and just start practicing.
I mean, you brought it up straight away. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Mouse and keyboard. Does it put you at a disadvantage?
For my playstyle, no. But like a player like Huskers, for example, he plays like he's on the controller, which just makes him, he's just different. Like no other player's doing that. I believe we may be one of the only 2 mouse and keyboard players here, which is crazy, but I try not to think about it like that. Like, if I lose a gunfight, it's on me.
You spoke about your playstyle a little bit there, and I respect you saying that it's on you. Let's face it, that's not always the opinion that someone takes. But while we're talking a little bit about how you play, snipers. We know that at the minute they're a bit controversial, whether or not they're in, they're out. What's your opinion? Should one-shot snipers be in this?
I think so. I mean, for me personally, regardless of the meta, I've been using snipers for the last 4 years competitively. Even back to the first Twitch Rivals event, I used the Kar 98, and 4 years later, we're using the same Kar 98 kind of, which is pretty dope. But no, I mean, I feel like there is some skill involved with like 3-2-1-ing, where like, I'll snipe someone and then Joe, for example, could tag him and they go down. But I think that people are just scared of snipers because of Warzone 2, where the movement was so slow and...
Yeah. Saw a tweet saying, I don't know about you guys, but I get shot like 2 or 3 times in a full afternoon of games. If you're getting sniped regularly, maybe it's a you problem.
Yeah.
So is that something that, you come into this, you're thinking, well, look, you just got to get out of the way of what I'm shooting at?
Yeah, I mean, that was more specifically for pubs, and like, I do feel like, personally, since I snipe, I don't get sniped much because I'm just sniping the people sniping at me. But if you're running around with an AR, I get sniped all the time.
Okay.
But like, yeah, I was kind of lying a little bit when I'm like, dude, in 8 hours, I'm not getting sniped. Trust me, I am, bro. And I'm like, dude, we got to get these cars out of the game. But for competitive, since they're not one-shotting, I think that the car is one of the best like competitive snipers we've had because you can get aggressive with it. You see a lot of controller players picking it up. Like Joe is a big flex with it. We'll both snipe sometimes, especially on rebirths. So I think that the car fits into the meta very well.
Do you think you're one of the best players in the game?
I honestly don't ever think about it. I'm not gonna lie, because I feel like if I was in my head like that, like a big ego, I feel like I'd start doing worse.
Okay.
I do think I'm one of the best mouse and keyboard players, and that's only because there's not many. Yeah. But like, I try not to think about stuff like that because I just feel like it'll make me worse.
Okay, fair enough. So it's not something that you put onto you, but do you have a person that you look to in the space right now and think, best player in the world?
Biffle, for sure. I mean, Biffle, Shifty, or Soka, they're all the best.
I'm gonna get you to pick one, no fence sitting.
Shifty. Okay, I'll go Shifty, but I do think that Biffle has been the most consistent, obviously, over the last 4 years.
Yeah.
There was a time when I got into competitive a bit late in 2021, and obviously Warzone came out in 2020, and so, I mean, he was already dominating it back then, and then there was a big thing with, people thinking Shifty was hacking, and then Soka, I played one of the first tourneys that Soka ever played. I played with him, and we did awful. I was like, dude, he's not that good, but no, he is that good, I promise you. It was just, it was a little slow start, but I'd go Shifty, final answer.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Breadman representing Cloud9 here at the Esports World Cup. Wishing you all the best of luck this week, man.
Thank you so much.
Always a pleasure.
Big Breadman. Okay, good to hear from him. The snipers are out, but where'd the hair go?
Listen, I gotta say, one of the questions. Oh, hold on.
Hello.
Good morning. Nice of you to join us.
Welcome in.
Listen.
One of the questions about Breadman, though, I will say, I gotta say. All right, listen.
Let's hear it.
Mouse and keyboard. That was one of the questions. Like, would he be affected, like playing against other controller players? But he said, no, I don't think about stuff like that.
Well, it's when you get him in a high position, right? I mean, he was in the tower for like the longest time in that game. I'm not surprised he's getting kills. You get a player like that and keyboard and mouse. Look, listen, I'll be honest with you guys. Whenever I play a keyboard and mouse player on online COD, I get pretty ragey. If I went up against Breadman in that position, it's a cheat code. It's cheating. Let's be honest. Let's call it for what it is, guys. It's much better. Keyboard and mouse players, they're insane. Breadman, though, I think we'll give him a pass. He's so good.
I'm not gonna say it's a cheat code at all. I see the way I hold shift plays mouse and keyboard in Warzone.
That's not keyboard and mouse. That's I hold shift. Okay, that's him.
Don't diss the Italian stallion, all right?
Italian stallion, I hold
I hold shift.
Wow. Okay, the ultimate gas coming out, and then the ultimate roast. Oh, shift's not catching up. My lord.
Doesn't deserve it.
Oh my goodness. Well, nice to have you back first and foremost. I know you were out there probably trying to pet the cat that we saw a little bit earlier.
I was on the hunt. I couldn't find it. I was searching around, and I honestly
was the one that originally found it, right? you found the cat.
Puckett had the cat too. The cat's just been all over the place.
Cat's been all over the place. And speaking of being all over the place, we were all over the place yesterday, but we also had our crew go out, walk the boulevard. Let's see what's out there.
What's up? It's Puckett outside, and as you can see, the sun is down. The city of Riyadh is cooling off. And if you weren't cool enough, well, they got some awesome misters for you. I feel like I'm at an amusement park, and all of this built in the last 6 months. It's absolutely incredible. As you can see, we've got the Amazon Arena. We've got a brand new, what is this, diner? Deli? Blacktop. No way. Black Tap. That is one of my favorite places in New York City. If you need a milkshake, hit that spot up right now. But of course, it's all about the games here in Riyadh. We've got everyone testing their might. You can win some serious cash over here, but the players inside, they know what's on the line. $1 million for our Warzone competitors. I don't expect anyone to come out and enjoy the Boulevard yet tonight, but by the end of this weekend, you know we could be partying on these streets. Pretty awesome stuff. All live from Riyadh. This is the Esports World Cup.
Man, I tell you what, yesterday when we were walking the boulevard, I was absolutely blown away. It's just how incredible it was. So much money's been put into it, but also attention to detail. You've got American brands, you've got European brand, you got Canadian, what, Tim Hortons, Canadian, something like that?
Love my Timmys.
I'm there for that.
There's everything out there, and I tell you what, it has been such a good experience. Puckett got to experience it himself. Hopefully he comes back and does his job, though. It doesn't stay out there too long. He's talking about partying and all of that, but maybe we'll get a chance to go visit.
Maybe he's brought the cat.
Maybe he is.
He's definitely not coming back if he's there.
Maybe that's a fact. Maybe he's the cat whisperer. Well, hey, we do have a good interview. Levi, who ended up winning game number 1 of the next group, right? Group A through C. We had Barney actually sit down and have a chat with Levi. Let's hear what they had to say.
Welcome back to the main stage where I am joined by Levi from Na'Vi. An incredible performance so far in today's matches. Obviously, there's plenty more to go. But today, Levi, is kind of about showcasing your individual ability, right? So how are you feeling after your 4 matches?
That was fun. That was really fun to go out there and get a win. It was just awesome, yeah. Solos is really fun, yeah.
So speaking of your win, to be honest, listening to the guys on the desk, the analysts, they were all talking about it was a really smart way to win. You held back, you didn't push Breadman, and you kind of waited until you could get height to close out the match. Is that kind of the plan? Was it to hold back?
As soon as I seen those 3 people up, including me, like me as the third, you can never initiate. So I'm just baiting, and as soon as I see them fighting, I'm like, all right, I gotta go in now. That's all it is to it, yeah.
And now, finally just being here, enjoying this event and embracing everything that's around us. How did it feel at the top of the show to hear your name called out? You get to walk out onto the stage, and not only that, representing Na'Vi as well.
No, it's awesome. This whole experience has been amazing. I just want to thank EWC and Na'Vi for having us. This thing is unreal. This is an event like nothing other before, honestly. This is unreal.
We were also speaking a little bit off camera, weren't we, just about how the real work begins tomorrow. The trios is really going to be where you put your foot down. How are you feeling about the trios going into tomorrow? Now that you've got reps on the stage, is there that confidence now?
Yeah, 100%. It was cool to get a win and all, but it's all about the bigger picture. Tomorrow is when it starts to matter. It was fun. It was fun and it was cool, but tomorrow is when it counts. Yeah.
Levi, I'm really excited to see what you guys bring to the table throughout the rest of the week. Thank you so much for joining me in this interview. Best of luck, man. All right, for now, we're going to go back to the studio so we can carry on the rest of the show, but we've got 2 more maps to go, and it's going to get spicy. See you in a bit.
Going to get spicy indeed, Barney, and it's already been spicy today. That was Levi talking out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one big thing that Levi was kind of talking about was he's waiting for those trios days. You know, solos has been a little bit tough for Na'Vi. Levi gets the win, but other than that, it's been a little bit of a struggle for the rest of the team. But we know that Zeppa and Limax, they have previous experience playing together on teams even outside of Warzone in the multiplayer circuit. So to see that, you know, they're struggling here, I'm sure it's no worry for them for when they do come together in the trios tomorrow.
Trios tomorrow is going to be interesting because I expect everybody to be warm up. That litmus test is now completed, but does it affect you, right? So let's actually go to you, Infinity, because does it affect you if you have a bad solo day? Is it like you go into group play and you're like, that's just a bad cloud hanging over you?
See, I think it depends who you are, right? I think we were talking about Falcons maybe having not such a good start to the day. I don't think they're going to care. Like, I'll be straight up honest about it. I think Falcons will be fine. They're the kind of roster that will bounce back.
Sure.
But if you're one of those teams that's coming in here as the lower seeded teams, right? You know, teams from international areas where maybe you're trying to prove yourself here and you don't have that good set of day number 1 games. I think that is a situation where, yeah, all right, that does start to affect you. And I think that's the difference to me. I think it's going to be the bigger teams. Nah, you'll be fine. The smaller teams, you know, the ones that maybe are the underdogs in this situation, I think those are the ones where maybe it might get in their heads a little bit.
Or it's just, you know, the Destroys who don't even want to play the solo days.
Oh, yeah. Destroy is, you know, not here.
Well, I think he's a little bit under the weather, but the good news is his brother, though, did play. And I'll tell you what, you know, again, I go back to just a couple days ago, you know, seeing them, I think, come in for breakfast or whatever, and I was like, you know, oh, who's this? Oh, it's my brother. He comes to pretty much all my events if he can, right? He's one of his biggest supporters.
That's
and
awesome.
I know it is awesome, and it means a lot for Jay, given the fact that he's a competitor himself. He's a shot hitter. We saw that. He wins game number 2 of the day and does so in a phenomenal way, taking on Z-Smith, who had been absolutely phenomenal up until that point, right? Ultimately getting first place at least after we see the leaderboard after game number 2. So you got to give him credit where credit is due.
Yeah, I was going to say you have to. And I mean, I think about Destroy back in like COD 4 remastered days, playing from his closet. Like, this guy has evolved so much. And I mean, right? And I mean, he's always got that energy, that hype. And I mean, you know, shout out Destroy. I hope he feels better. Maybe we'll see him come back in and pop off in trios. But for his squad, though, I mean, even just being able to qualify, getting 7th, and Raul, right? Raul had a lot of eliminations on that last map. And I mean, like, you think about that and that energy just from Jay, Destroy's got to be proud. And that momentum, a heavy momentum team, it's got to carry over to groups.
Well, I'm personally proud of one player. His name is Visions, who ended up picking up 15 eliminations, rocking prison. Hey, how far could he have went if he didn't end up going down? That's the question I have. Let's go to the STC Arena with Malash, who's talking to Visions.
Welcome back, everybody, to the STC Arena here live from Riyadh at the Esports World Cup. With me is Vision, our Victor here from Guild, and we have a bit of a chat because you are insane. Like, we'll talk about map 4 in a sec, but still, first 3 maps, 18 kills. Guide me through what's going on.
In the beginning, I just took it a little bit slow, you know, like I was just like, how do you explain that? I mean, I was just like taking it slow into prison, like getting a few kills, but then like I got a little bit tactically, yeah, exactly.
You know, going in from map 3 to 4, now you popped off 15 kills. Like, did things just line up for you, or was there more strategy in your mind for it?
What I wanted to say in the beginning was that I just took it a little bit slowly. I just tried to get a little bit of kills, just see where people are landing, of course. And then the last game, I just knew what was going on. I knew I didn't get contested. I knew there was no one landing on me, so I was fine for the last game. I knew how I had to play it. I was just sitting in bottom prison the whole game, just holding it on lockdown. Everyone that came in had no chance. Yeah, what do you want me to say?
And did excellently, to say the least. Now, what do you think were those stumbling blocks in the first 3 games? Did you just need it to get into the vibe of it, or how was it?
Yes, I needed to get a little bit in the vibe. Like, I just needed a little bit of the LAN feeling, like the feeling of having people in front of you and also having people watch you back home. But the last game, everything fell into pieces.
It clicked. You have a huge stage. You got people watching in here and at home, it adds extra stress to it. But it didn't matter because you came out at #1, so that's pretty impressive. But now the focus is on trios tomorrow. How do you feel about that?
I feel like solos is, of course, something completely different. Solos, you can get killed from behind in a second and you don't even know where it's coming from. Tomorrow it's all about team play, and I think team play we have that plenty, so we have that on lockdown for tomorrow.
I mean, if you can do kills and get team play, that's a bonus.
I feel like at least I don't get killed from behind. My teammate has my back, no? Yeah.
There you go. You can rely on your teammates. That's what we got from Gil. Thank you very much, Vision, and congratulations again on the win. Back to the studio.
Thank you for that, Milosh. As Vision saying, hey, you can rely on your teammates, but at least when it comes to solos, he can rely on himself, Infinity.
Yeah, absolutely he can. We were looking to see this Vision come and play today, and we absolutely saw it there in that game #4. And again, context for those of you guys who aren't aware, Vision has been on this path, right? This kind of bounce back, if you will, from being dropped at the end of the 2023 season by Jukies and Lennon. Controversially so, because a lot of people put stock into Vision.
Yep.
He's come into this season, and what? I mean, he's done insanely well. He just won European Regionals, and now we're seeing him here in the Esports World Cup doing stuff like this.
Yeah, match ranking, right? This comes from that match where he pops off with 15 eliminations. Now, notice he sits there with 21 points. The big thing, he doesn't get the win. That was actually Oki Seymour. However, Vision, because his 15 elims and that multiplier, he still was able to secure first place for game #4.
Yeah, it's nice to get the win and all, but it's how long have we been talking about this in Warzone, especially considering those multipliers are so big?
Yes.
It does have impact if you're getting kills or not. I mean, placement, sometimes it's just not enough.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see that Vision is finding that value. Like you said, he has
Right.
a lot of players investing into him, and for him himself to be showing that on his own, when he doesn't need to be anchored down by his other two players, when he doesn't have to have that system in place that they're so used to, he can fly on the map, he can play through prison, he can feel safe to do what he does best,
Right.
and that's just kill people. It's what's going to be bringing this guild team into that powerhouse spot that Brody was talking about earlier.
Yeah, not to mention, I mean, he did state, right? He was uncontested. He kind of played slow a little bit. It seems like they, like, as we mentioned, have a plan, right? Implementing that plan, but being able to utilize it is important. For Visions, though, I mean, working around prison,
Yeah.
you guys know how easy it can be to pick up eliminations, but how quickly you can get out of dodge.
Well, I was looking at those replays, right? I mean, it's like Vision in prison. You were talking about the level. Well, we have been discussing the levels of prison, right? You got the rooftop, which typically is where everybody wants to be, right? But then you also have the stairs, you've got the middle, and then you have the lower portion, which is always scrappy, especially late game, especially if that's where zone's going. Everybody's rushing into the prison cells, trying to get up top, and you've got to try and protect that. Those levels make a difference, and I got to say, Vision was masterfully holding it down. We take a look at our overall leaderboard. We get to see who's leading the charge now, and it is, in fact, Vision over in first.
Wow.
And by the way, take note, okay? Take note, Seymour. 33 total eliminations.
That's just insane. 44.8 points, leading the top. Oki just underneath them, where we talked about Oki having 2 big finishes so far on the day. It drops down those Twisted Mind players all the way to 5th and 6th. Z-Smith and Aiden both alongside each other. And then, you know, my man Dongy in 7th place. He's up there too.
Dongy's making it happen. We go down the list a bit. I do see Huskers making a little bit of an attempt going up. Obviously, this is page #2. War is sitting in 22nd at the moment. Still looking through, you know, a couple of familiar faces, a lot of familiar faces really being down there. But Dream, at the end of the day, it is solos. There's still 2 more games to go. Not for Group A, though, right? Now it's all about Group B and Group C to kind of finish it off.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, one name I was surprised to not see up there that we normally see that always is on the top, at least in terms of eliminations and lands, is Biffle.
Biffle, yeah. Biffle is one of those guys that you would expect to be performing very well, but he has been getting into a little bit of tussle with the muscle, right? We're talking Team Falcons taking each other down, okay? Yeah. It seems like you look at it, right? And it's like, dude, how many Falcons members can take down other Falcons members? It's almost like they're intentionally doing it just to have a little bit of fun because they're not worried about...
They're nerfing themselves.
They're nerfing themselves. But again, they're like, dude, it's time to prove that I'm one of the best out there. We've got an interview on stage with Milosh. Let's hear what one of the players had to say.
Welcome back to the SEC Arena, everybody. And with us is Oki, joining us here from Team Abwas. First of all, great performance, but you looked calm even after the victory. You're cool as a cucumber.
It's all about composure in those end games, and, you know, like, the adrenaline obviously was there, but you just got to stay calm and collected, regardless of what happens. You know, stay humble.
It is a lot to take in because you're here on the stage, you got equipment you're not used to, even though you have your own setup. It's daunting to many players, but that doesn't seem to bother you at all.
I mean, going from my setup, this is a huge upgrade. I mean, from going from 1440 to 1080, that is the only difference. But on Resurgence Island, small map, it doesn't really matter too much. But my shot felt so good. Like, usually those few milliseconds of delay, because I only stream on one PC, got like a 3070. These PCs are amazing, like responsiveness, everything. And I'm just really happy to be here. Like, everything's amazing.
Only the best for the best in the world here at EWC, and you got 9 kills in map 2 for the win. Were you taking it more tactically in the game? Because it felt like there were times where things had a lull, a bit of slowdown.
It definitely slowed down a little bit, but without, obviously information and anything, like, you just got to take your time around the map. Like, I took my time. I still ended up with 9 kills every single map, 7-7. First game got sniped, is what it is, but I don't know. It felt really. I felt really composed, and I felt like I played everything perfectly, regardless on how slow that regain was. It still got me to a better position. I retook height and, fried out.
I think it's something we've been hearing from our players so far is that, if we're playing solos, sometimes you just have to assume you're going to die to something you can't really expect. Trios is where things really change up. How are you feeling for that communication-wise and comfort?
Really excited. Obviously, the team hasn't had practice. Just came out of surgery, but hopefully we get some practice in today. We're like really confident as a team. Prod's been my teammate, throughout the years, like every now and again, and Wiz has been my best mate ever since Bounce. And I feel like the chemistry's there, and we're really adaptable, and I think we can fry out.
I can't wait to see it on stage. Of course, so far you are number 2 in total with 34.6 points. There you go. Not too bad. Thank you very much, OK, for joining us. For those, back to the studio.
And thank you for that, Milaj. Oki, the winner of the last game we just watched, game number 4. Also, give him his flowers where flowers are due. Second place in game number 2. Nice to hear from Oki. Curious to hear more of that surgery story, though. But the Esports World Cup Call of Duty Warzone will continue when we come back. Don't go anywhere.
New adventures bring new challenges. Even as the heat rises, dandruff and grease won't stand a chance. With new Clear Men, powered by triple formula technology. To eliminate dandruff, itch, and grease, gives you 8 hours of freshness and 100% dandruff-free hair. New Clear Men, 0% dandruff, 100% confidence.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Esports World Cup Call of Duty Warzone. 4 games down, 2 more to go. And in fact, we're about to reintroduce Group B to play C to finish off the night, the end of solos, before we join back into group play tomorrow. Hey, let's bring in our casters. I'm excited to get this game going, so let's get it going for the final 2 games of the day.
Yeah, we have to have a talk, all right, friends? Now, Seymour, I'm not going to let you get away with just throwing strays at me while we're on break and stuff. And normally I would be tight about something like that, but I don't know if things get more tight than your pants. So here we go. We've got groups B and C. You like that one, didn't you? To get things finished off here. And I think the big news is, again, Vision sets the bar. He's got top kills, and of course his averages are incredible. That's got to be the new metric for us to look at.
Yeah, he's absolutely blowing everything out of the water. Average kills across the entire set of players that we have here is 4.1 kills per map. He is bringing in over 13 kills per map. That is just setting a ridiculous bar that so many people have to chase. There are, of course, people here that have only played 2 games. They're warming up into this, and they got to figure out a couple more things through this. We've got a couple of people to talk about in terms of like how they're performing, but Vision is the star man at this moment.
Absolutely the case. And, you know, other side of that is not just the total kills, but the score that he brings to his team for the side of Guild Esports. 44 points, 44.8 for being specific, which is pretty much leaps and bounds ahead of the majority of everyone else who finished for Group A, with the only exception actually being Oki, who just won that last map. So there is this balance all of a sudden of needing to talk about where do we want to see the total kills versus how do you play for placement. We've seen both sides. Vision getting a lot of kills, Oki doing great with placement.
No, 100%, and I think the desk there did a great job of breaking that down on how, you know, some of these players are going out there and picking up big kills, sure, but then they're getting eliminated in, like, you know, the mid-20s. It's just not enough to really make that multiplier count. Whereas, you know, Oki speaks there a bit about how once he picked up a certain amount of kills, he decided to play it a certain way and perhaps played more patiently, focus more on those end-game power positions, and that's exactly what you got to be doing. You want at least that 1.7, I feel, that multiplier to come on through that top 5 positioning. 2 times, of course, would be a huge bonus, but I feel like if you're sitting outside that top 5 pretty much every game, you're just not picking up the score that your squad requires.
So outside of the players from Group A, keeping an eye on players that still have to finish off these last 2 games, I think the easy transition is to talk about Smith. You know, he's still sitting near the top of the leaderboard overall, 22 total kills, and the squad is looking like it very well may pull the top overall seed for Twisted Minds. They're currently at the top of the leaderboard at 77.2, and with Smith still able to play and Knight still warming up, it feels like Twisted Minds are going to be our heavy favorite to try to finish off this solo stage.
No, 100%. I mean, Smith nearly triple the average amount of kills that most of the people are picking up. Knight is above it, despite the fact that it feels like we haven't seen the full go-go Knight that we were expecting thus far. Maybe a little bit of nerves coming into this, maybe just a little bit of warming up. And then Aiden also putting up considerable figures. We're going to see more of both of those players throughout this one.
Indeed the case, and just to keep bringing it up, the team that you don't see on that overall rankings at the moment, Team Falcons. Skifty still has 2 games to play, and in this is Biffle. So if you're really trying to track down the quote-unquote tournament favorites, keep your eye on the kill feed for those 2 names as we're dealing with our early drop situations. And a lot of action actually here towards the backside of the residential districts.
Yeah, living quarters here seeing a fair lion's share of gunfights. Castillo has managed to get it down, but not a kill. And, well, he's just going to try and rotate on and off, give himself a bit of high ground gas, potentially forcing him into that spot. But looks like whoever he did down below has managed to pick themselves back on up and has potential company from a 4. If a player that spawns in just above him might land on top of him. So lots of things to consider right now. It looks like it might have been Biffle that Castillo brought down.
I think so, because it not is just Biffle in this area. You also saw that Knight had dropped on the other side of living quarters as well. So, you know, again, maybe an opportunity where they talk to us, but like, hey, you drop on one side, I drop on the other, and we just rotate around the island in counterclockwise form. So that could be a part of the strategy to try to get Falcons back in the running here.
Yes. Now, I know there's going to be people asking about all of that and like, how far can you go with the strategy? There is, you know, you can't collude. You can't sit there and be like, okay, you do this, you do that. If you and me are on the same team, brother, I'm going, look, I'm going over here, you go over there. If we see each other, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly the case. See if the gloves get thrown or not. As the kill feed gets super active at the moment. Patsuka, we got to remember, had a great start when he was playing over, especially through the showers in our last game. Found a lot of kills, just could not quite crack into that top 5. So now it's just about, again, can you find those kills, but all of a sudden crack into that top 5, get yourself that big multiplier.
Well, I think Vitality start off slow. I spoke about them at the top of the show. They are my prediction for the event. I think that the great thing for them currently is that Engson got off to a really slow start. If anyone wants to start Slayer on this lineup, it is that guy. He impresses so much, especially in like 1v3, 1v2 situations. Seems to come out on top in a ridiculous amount of them. So when odds are stacked against him, when he goes back against the wall, he goes big. Can he put that on here through the rest of this and get his side a top seed for the remainder of this tournament?
And so far, top 5, because Stevo did great. He had an unbelievably good first 4 games. He finds himself, I think, 20 total kills. So, again, he meets the metric in terms of how do you crack into not just the top 10, but possibly being a top overall seed as we look towards the trio group stage to continue forward after tonight. So lots of things to kind of keep our eye on here. Knight did get knocked down, so I know the Falcons fans inside the venue are probably not going to be very happy about that, but still plenty of time to come through. And interestingly enough, how about it? We swap over to Lennon, who does find one of our contenders for top overall leaders, as all of a sudden Smith has to find his way back into the game.
Yeah, that'll feel good for Lennon. A big play to pick up your first kill on through this. Lennon in particular, it feels like one of those kind of players who vibes well once his confidence gets flowing, once he gets going. He's one of those players that you know, you just want to see on that heater, because once he gets going, hits a different level. And we're just going to get a nice overview there of Method 6. Interesting conversation around him. He's an ex-multiplayer player, then came over to play Warzone. He was the part of the top Spanish trio for a long time. Then he actually got a job offer to coach the Miami Heretics in the CDL. Goes over and works with them for a while, but gets an invite to the Esports World Cup, and of course reunites with his favorite Spanish duo.
Yeah, it's just, there's something about the Spanish community where they bond together in a lot of ways, because that Miami Heretics team, there was a lot of question on what they were going to do. They picked up a 5-man roster for the CDL, and they trusted Method 6 to try to put him together. But he's been able to kind of balance, juggle a little bit between both spaces, and still putting together a pretty decent performance here, all things told. And again, I've asked you before, if you were surprised that Breadman was sitting on top of a tower with a sniper rifle, I think that you hadn't been watching Warzone. So he finds himself up top again, and we track back over to Spit, who has 2 kills off of his recent respawn, just going to try to get the cash back up and get himself back into fighting form.
Yeah, absolutely. Going back to the Breadman conversation, by the way, although yes, it is unsurprising, I wonder if part of that comes into strategy, thinking long picture, big picture in this tournament. You know, okay, how do I feel around the water tower? There's a couple of things that I want to adjust throughout this. And when we start talking group stages and we start talking about those trios, is he going to feel that bit more comfortable than some of the people who are currently playing as the solo, as picking up the points for their seeding?
And for Cloud9 in particular, speaking on Breadman's squad, Foreign Jace is the player that was in Group A. He's done. He found 19 total kills. So again, he's right around the good metric. He's right in the conversation. So now it's just down to the rest of the team, which includes not just Bread, but also Joe. Those are the 2 that we're keeping our eye on. And Joe did not have a great start here overall. Just 5 total kills and an average placement of 34th. So he's having a little bit of a tough time here at the solos.
Yeah, the guy who calls himself the king of schmovement. We've seen him do many, many wonderful things over the years, but we got to see a little bit better. And, well, Jackal does better. Hits the sniper, and actually sniper on sniper action, and manages to get the crack onto Bread, but it's going to back him on off. And if he's aware that's Bread, he should be aware he could well get counter-sniped. Breadman rarely backs down from one of these kind of fights. Jackal's going to look to the skies. Bralik coming back in, who he just picked off. Can he land the shot? There's almost like kid in a candy shop situation there. It's just too many things to try and pick out.
Yeah, which do you focus on? 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 of the players in the parachute? Knight able to confirm himself another kill as we jump on board with Zeppa, who finds the other Falcons teammate in Biffle. And that's enough for Biffle to come out. I mean, talk about just a disappointment. I mean, it's hard to say. Again, it's solos. We don't want to necessarily change the narrative of the tournament, but I think the expectation was that not only are these guys collectively nasty, individually they're disgusting. So we're not quite getting that full yet.
No, you're right. Again, in the long-term things, it could just matter little, but it is concerning at the minute. You know, you look at Hisoka, for example. That is a man who is constantly lighting up kill feeds, constantly doing ridiculous things on the map, and he's currently averaging 3.25 kills per game, which is way below the average and definitely not their standard. And a man who we wanted to see a bit more of there on our screens for a moment, that was Knight, and it's whether or not he can turn into the player that Aiden and Z-Smith pick up, right? He's known as a Resurgence player, Resurgence content creator. Can he start to deliver through this map?
Yeah, but we are in that top 30, so the first multiplier is currently in play as more squad wipes are continuing to come through here through this second circle. So plenty of time on it. So positioning not a major concern yet, but I say that with some hesitation because Zix does find himself kind of gatekeeping the edge on this switchback path as we head back over in towards the headquarters position. Hasn't really gotten the tally on the players that are kind of on the fringe, though. So this is just about him trying to get into a better spot eventually when Circle 3 forces him to likely have to move deeper into the circle.
Yeah, just trying to get a quick look at that circle. Obviously, we don't have full map view at this point, but it looks like it will be center of map, so potentially around your prison. So a lot of squads then, a lot of these individuals, sorry, are going to start to consider whether or not to break in through bottom prison, trying to get up towards top prison, take control of these areas as players rotate up their hills or around the surrounding pathways, picking up some free kills. But obviously, going to be hotly contested. And speaking of which, Cams here suspects company nearby. Castillo will be directly underneath, and we do actually get that full map view, and it does look like actually the zone could pull slightly off towards Industry there, or maybe even somewhere in between.
It's always really an interesting conversation when you're trying to rotate early for center circle, because let's be honest, like as much as center circle often comes with the pedigree of you're winning, with all the elevation that comes out, it's like, well, you could be center circle, but if you find yourself on the low ground and it moves to the opposite side, you're kind of screwed. So this is all about, I think, at this point, especially with it still being a chance to respawn, what can you find on the fringe? Not a lot of players defaulting for the middle unless you're trying to win things like the entire POI of Industry.
You can see as well here, Rodrigo just trying to play on the edge of the map and around Chem. Climb the ladder here. He will have plenty of company inside, but it's another area, as you've just said there, with the verticality, so many players that can contest you from various regions. To try and lock it all down is difficult. Jackal here, by the way, on to 10. Seems to be having a hell of a time atop Prison. And Breadman is just lurking over the other side, potentially more sniper on sniper action here. Shift, lightens it up, pulls the trigger, does get the crack, but again, Breadman will check away.
Whoa.
Thermite comes on out over from Smith. Doesn't connect though, so Smith backs on off.
Yeah, Smith's trying to get involved. He's just like, I see you guys. I'm not going to let you have this one-on-one battle forever, which it feels like it's been going on for forever. As we swap over to Rodrigo. Again, not bad at all there for him on 5 at the moment. Still playing on the outside of the circle as we're about to see it start to close on in. And I think the question here for Breadman is how much more does he find from this position and how long does he want to stay here? This feels like this is his strategy every time he drops into the map is get me on the water tower on the other side of Prison and let me just get to work on the scope.
100%. And oh, that was gorgeous. Finds the back of Clapper's skull. And Clapper will have an opportunity to come back on in, but Breadman will take a chunk of loot. And actually wants to play courtyard here, not going back up towards his water tower, potentially just considering a reposition. Lines up a couple more shots up towards top, but he's got to be careful and tense. We've just spoken about how important Prison could be here. From that rooftop, you are very much so exposed down there.
Respawn will close, so now every kill will be pretty final, and how about it? Just as soon as it happens, AJ able to take down Trevs and even has the Kar98 out and does see a player at range. Can't quite connect, and this is just about, yeah, let me see what Lukai can grab. Reset, no need to get too greedy. Still plenty of circle to play with.
Lukanas just trying to quietly make his way out somewhere. However, what I will say, he was on 1 kill. Doesn't matter what you pick up in terms of placement if you find 1 kill. It's one of those sayings that kind of exists around Warzone. Placements are something, kills are everything.
Yeah.
So he's got to pick that pace up if he's actually going to make an impact in this one. And just a lovely view here over Prison, and there's about 6 or 7 players just in camera shot right there.
Yeah, I think just kind of revisiting that conversation, you know, the difference between 1.7 and 2 times multiplier really doesn't feel terribly different, especially considering that this is just for seeding. So I think at the end of the day, especially as we start to get close to our next multiplier boost at the top 15, once you get in there, it's just like, okay, if I can find a kill, great. Otherwise, 1.7 will do more than enough. We don't have to win these lobbies to get good points.
Oh, you're right. Absolutely spot on. Jackal here, finally spotting a bit of bother and actually finds Cams, brings the Spaniard down, moves himself up to 11. And then sees Breadman yet again. And these two have been trading blows for a while now. Mostly Jackal onto Breadman, and he'll be frustrated if he doesn't finish that off anytime soon because the circle's actually going to push him towards it. Squeezes people in. Knight will pick up AJ and then starts to spot Elo, and oh, he's just not done enough. It's 1 bullet per player. Surely the problem is Elo will be able to use the gas to push Knight forward, and actually Knight disengages, finds himself a different route, and then Tommy actually finds Elo elsewhere, but I think the actual credit might go to Knight.
Hard to say. It was a bang-bang play without question. But regardless of it, tight moments, as Knight does, will finish off Rodrigo, who had been down earlier. So it's a cross, and yep, both players will be wiped off the table. Breadman able to finish off Knight, who was down. So pretty much a 1-for-1 martyrdom trade right there between the two of those. The kill fit as we jump back over to Patsuka, who's putting together another nice mid-game, but cannot quite finish off Spit, who's on a bit of a slower game here. 4 kills, but this is where you expect him to start to get active.
Yeah, absolutely. Finally, Circle is going to pull actually downhill. So a lot of players now going to rotate. You're going to see Smith here with potentially a lot of company. Jackal as well is stuck between a rock and a hard place here. Players above, if he heads downhill, there's likely going to be players lying in wait. And he's just trying to look on over. Zig's just above him. Limax is already down in position, and Lucanas still hiding in the bottom of camp.
This isn't a comfortable position for Jackal, but he does have the ability to try to play for the circle rotation, but doesn't quite get into the right spot to deal with Zig. So that's now a couple eliminations properly owned up in. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Breadman continuing to play with elevation, this time by way of the chopper, as he's just going to float above this and see Smith right below, starting to get to work, like we mentioned, already on 5 kills with a couple more nearby.
And one more kill gets you to that 1.7 times multiplier, that all-important metric that we've been talking about for these individuals. Smith just looking to take this fight and will pick up Lucanas. And again, we spoke about it. Can't be many kills for Lucanas. And he gets himself to this point, doesn't even get the 1.7. Smith snaps yet again, trying to chase after this. Will actually pick up Limax as well, but then takes bullets. And it's actually going to be Tommy who finds him, 3 remaining.
And now it's just down to what does Breadman do? He's still floating around the helicopter up above. And if you're looking at this from Tommy or Stukic's position, who are the last 2 left on the ground, when does he drop on in? Tommy doesn't seem to care. He is the innovator of Chopper strategy. So he knows what this is going to look like. Chopper starts to come through. Breadman trying to get himself back in, but he has been tagged and has to try to find a route through the gas. So far, so good. And Breadman's going to get the down, also has the read over towards Tommy. Knife finishes the kill. Tommy off the reset, up and over. Tommy able to win the 1v1. Breadman gave himself a heck of a look. But end all be all, Tommy gets the read, and again, he's the innovator of helicopter strats. He knows what that's going to look like.
Yeah, knew exactly how to counterplay that. I honestly thought we had ourselves a highlight reel moment out of Brett. I'm not going to lie. He comes in off that chopper. I think he actually positions himself beautifully. Flies in through the back side of the gas there, away from the ongoing gunfight. The idea is to land, pick up all the information you need, and then finish off the gunfights that were ongoing. Finds himself the one, but Tommy just has that little bit too much gunny in him to lose that fight. And we've spoken a bit about Tommy, right? We're at the top of the pre-show. It's been a while since we've probably brought him up, but showing that kind of experience that he has on land to just lock in and finish things off here. And I'm at 5.
And that's the thing is, you know, the conversation around Tommy has been so dynamic. Obviously, the conversations with TBE are long-standing, but even coming into Warzone, he boasted one of the longest competitive veterancies that we could have possibly built, just with his ability to play professionally when the CWL was around. So he brings that mindset, and when you put him into an environment, he's going to figure out how to best it. A prime example right there.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the reason he was picked up, Juki said in his interview, it's for that experience, but also because Juki's and Lennon look up to him as a hero because of how long he's been around, how much of a role model he has been for so many, especially European players in the scene. And you know, coming out big there, I think that's only going to do wonders for Al Ula. They weren't necessarily in our top 3 conversation, but they weren't far away. I think, you know, Juki's has been putting on a little bit of a performance, especially that big map 1, of course. Lennon's been kind of putting up the averages, so for Tommy to go big here in 5, I think that lifts them up towards at least that top 5 conversation.
Yeah, Juki's is the one that is done for this squad from Group A, and he did put together good numbers. Like you mentioned, the win obviously kind of star-studded that whole narrative point. But, you know, Tommy, the ability to now turn that into a second win, is that may be our first group that has boasted 2 individuals finding themselves a Warzone win. So there is something to be said about it, as Tommy and Lennon are the last 2 remaining for that Alula squad, like you said. That's just sitting right there at that top 5 mark, which is more than fine, I think, if you're looking at that for overall seeding.
Yeah, this is the thing. Obviously, the conversation right now is where are people going to end up with seeding? And, you know, the thing is, the way it works is seed 1, 2, 3, obviously go into the different groups, and then it comes back around. And if you're sitting in towards the top 5, not only does it give you confidence going in through the rest of the tournament, how you played individually, but it will give you a great seed as well. And just look at this here. Tommy actually does a lot of damage into Sukex, but Breadman's landing there, gets the information, gets the cleanup. I love this from Tommy, because he was clearly weak from the fight before, but just buys himself enough time, and then the snap on the gunfight.
I'm pumped to see this from his point of view, because, again, he gets the info that Breadman's over the top. I think he only has time to get the 2 plates in. Yeah, barely even gets the first. So that little bit of extra health gets him going. The smoke play for Breadman trying to extend the play, not going to work out. And, of course, you got to remember that he was tagged up pretty heavily, floating on in. So he didn't have a chance to reset his health pool at all either. So, ooh, exciting stuff here with just 1 more drop remaining. And I will say, I think Vision is still at the top of the overall kill leaderboard, because the next closest would be Spit. And he only had maybe 5-6 kills, and he needs to get, I think, 11 in total to at least match Vision.
Yeah, so there is an opportunity for that to change here still in our final game, but I think you're right. I think it currently goes Vision, then Oki, up in around those 40s. So, I mean, that's the bar for your top players currently. I think of the remaining players that we've got, I think we continue to focus on Smith and how he's been doing, and honestly, just continue to assess our players as we move on through into our final map.
The data is starting to flesh itself out. We're 2 nerds that love spreadsheets, so we're going to be digging into that. But before we can continue, we got to go to some bigger nerds that are finding themselves down on the analyst desk.
The way the tight pants comment, well, you'll notice Seymour's no longer up here, so you can thank yourself for that shift. We'll be having some words later. A great game number 5. One more game to go, but first we've got to recap because this was a tremendous game without certainty. Tommy, first place is huge for a number of reasons, Infinity.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's funny because a lot of the conversation around Alula, right, is Tommy coming in alongside Jukis and Len in this event. We were talking about what he's going to do for the roster when they actually play as a trio. He's already doing a lot for the roster in the solos. He's given them their second win today. Obviously, we saw Jukis, I think it was game number 2 that he was able to take away. So the fact he's able to get another one, that's going to boost Alula all the way up the standing. This is going to be a really high seed.
Yeah, I mean, it's only solos, right? But I mean, if you have 2 of your members winning the solo games, I mean, that makes you look stronger going into group play trios, right? 2 and 3.
Right, and I mean, like, we were kind of just talking behind the scenes, like, just thinking about, like, the confidence level for that trio, like, coming into this for Tommy Jukis. We know that it's just been difficult, but you have got to feel the momentum from that. I mean, 2 wins, and, I mean, carrying into groups, plus going into LCKs, that's going to be such a good momentum factor for them.
Layers.
Layers.
Okay, we're talking a lot of layers here. Definitely going to help for World Series of Warzone LCQ, and it's going to help for, I think, days 2 and 3 as well. And maybe, hopefully, at least with this performance, they're not one of the bottom 8 teams, right, to not make it to day 4, but we'll get to that point when we get to it. Great game, though, overall. You know, Jackal is a player that we have to discuss here, Infinity. Jackal needed a big game. Why, and did he get it done?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's funny, right? Because we were talking about, before we got into the game, right, let's start looking at the teams that are not having a good game, or good day, excuse me. And we were talking about, you know, Huskers and Bralic. They're really low down on the scoreboard, so Jackal needed to come into this today, as well as Bralic, to be fair. He was also in the matchup, and have a good game. Boy, oh boy, did he. He was absolutely slaying out throughout the remainder of the game, to the point where he got, I think it was 3rd, got all the way towards the final zone, and it was, Bread, I think it was towards the end. I don't think he quite expected him. He was preoccupied with Tommy in the final zone. Jackal might well have taken the entire thing if Brett hadn't come and ruined it.
Yeah, that's a good point, too, because Jackal, you know, being a younger competitor, even with Bralic, a lot of conversation around that squad was like, okay, Huskers has the experience with Bralic and Jackal. I mean, will they perform on land? But for Jackal, that's huge. And I mean, looking at that I believe it was Z-Smith, they had that little engagement there at the end. Look at how much, and I was watching this, he could potentially clutch the situation, rotating down from prison, but there was so much work that Jackal had to do. He needed smokes to rotate, and he had that, but I believe it was Z-Smith that he came in contact with, and Z-Smith taking down Limax right there. I questioned that play because the circle was behind him. So I don't know if it was like he pushed forward, he got eliminated by Tommy, but I feel like Jackal, or Z-Smith could have potentially won this drop had he maybe just rotated back a little bit towards zone.
Man, it's just those little things.
Little
things, those moments. There's so much to process, especially in Rebirth, and so quickly you have to process it. The best could do it, and he still is one of the best, but it was just a tough spot to be in. Tommy in that moment, 1v1 against Breadman, he gets the job done. And I was kind of questioning myself, did he hit that throwing knife? Because I thought he threw one at Breadman. I don't know if he necessarily hit it, but at least he got the final shots that were needed to put Breadman down. Breadman, I mean, that would have been such a big win for him if he was able to get it.
Yeah, I mean, like we were talking about Bread doing so well, not just in Game 3, but in Game 4, the changing of the play style there, right? You know, the Bread that we know and love with the sniper rifle up top on the water tower. It is worth saying that we did see early on in that game, Bread do exactly the same thing, right? For the vast majority of the early game, he was up top there, getting the snipes once again on the water tower. But there is a little bit of a mixture of the play, right? Once you realize that position became a little bit untenable, he decided to move, and that's where you see him so late on in the circle. I mean, just that adaptation from Bread is why we still consider him one of the top players here in Warzone.
I was going to say, one of the things I've always loved about Bread is, like, he's always so cool, calm, collected. Obviously, we can't call him the hair god anymore, but he's still, actually, you know what? We still can call him the hair god because it's still looking pretty good. But he's just so calm in these chaotic moments that you will see him thrive. And, I mean, he's always said that. Like, I'm not worried about it, mouse and keyboard. I'm not worried about it. I'm just doing my thing.
Still blows me away that he's mouse and keyboard. So many players have transferred over towards controller. Very few still play on mouse and keyboard for various reasons, right? Not to get into the whole conversation. I'm not going to start that war. But unbelievable. Breadman, an incredible player. One more game to go. That's it for the solo play. The last chance to get points going into group play. Casters, I'm ready to get it started, so let's get it started for the final game of the day.
So glad, Taylor, that we have your permission. because I don't know if we could have managed without it. Nah, I'm ready. Let's do this thing. This is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be able to really cement, of course, who possibly the narrative shifts towards, especially if Falcons maybe continue to not find as many kills as we expect.
I mean, at the minute, it's just a baffling conversation because, again, there's so many conversations about, like, you know, this is solos, this is so different, but as 3 individuals, these are all players you would put your house on doing well in these events. And then Ahsoka averaging 3 kills per map. Biffle, slightly above that. Shifty, okay, 6.5 is above the average, but it's not exactly standout.
Yeah, and I think the thing, too, is, hey, does this change the perspective of, do individuals now take in different roles? Like, yo, I'm feeling it here on land. Let me go out and start to slay because, like we said, Vision may be one of them guys now all of a sudden. You can say the same thing about Smith, which, let's be honest, we've always said that about Smith. The guy is an absolute slayer, but it is one of those things that, okay, some players are feeling it a little bit more individually, especially here now that we're on land.
Well, I mean, we saw that interview earlier with Oki, right? And he was talking about, especially from a European point of view, not being on that ping feels crazy.
Oh, yeah.
They're turning up and they're involved in these 50-50 gunfights that previously would have been settled by 1 bullet, and they're thinking, oh, I feel myself here today. But apparently, a couple of our star players are not. But as we start to look towards map 6, let's set the stage just a little bit here, Shift. Let's talk about the kind of seeding position that we're looking at here. Currently standing, we would be looking at a top 3 of Twisted Minds, Guild, and Team Abwiz. Yep. I don't think that will surprise us because of some of the performances that have come on out, but at the top of the show, I really wouldn't have put that 3 up there.
I think Twisted Minds was one that we had a question mark around because Knight coming into the picture as kind of the resurgence specialist, quote unquote, would that actually help this squad be a major contender? Because we know, what, of course, what Aiden and Smith bring to the table, but what was Knight going to be able to do? And, well, at the moment, things are looking pretty darn good for them. On the other side, of course, Guild. That was my pick, actually, prediction-wise, to win the whole thing. So I'm feeling real saucy right now, getting on your EU banter. Love it.
Yeah, they are a fantastic squad, and definitely a side that I'm looking forward to seeing how they progress through this. It's Wars has been around for some time, always appears at the big tournaments, of course, but AJ and Vision, I think there was a couple of questions about how they would step up to things, but they're doing all right today. But map 6 underway. Biffle here, just trying to check out control centers, up against Crims, and gets slammed, quite frankly. Yes, Crims had the high ground. Biffle lands first bullets, though, and I think that kind of sums up just how their afternoon's going.
That is exactly what I was going to say. It's like, regardless of it being solos, that is a 1v1 that if you were to put those 2 players on paper and ask the community who wins it, 99.9% of people, besides Crims, pick Biffle to win that 1v1. Whether it be raw vanilla guns that you find on the ground or not, doesn't seem to make much of a difference in terms of what people think about what Diaz Biffle can bring to the table. So it just feels like it's been that kind of day so far for those boys.
Yeah, and it comes back to that conversation about pressure, about what's expected of them. You know, I asked Biffle in his interviews, does winning this make you a dynasty? And he said it makes them pretty damn close with how good they are. Well, that is a lot of pressure. That is a big title to put on yourself. Crims here gonna have to deal with a mosquito drone, and will just about get out of the way, but it takes fall damage in the process. Cams will check back to try and see if he can fight this. Both players lacking information on each other right now. Crims is making all the noise. Cams doesn't spot him there. That's the COD timing at its absolute finest as both players go their separate ways.
Yeah, Crims is on the reset, but you got to keep in mind that Cams isn't dealing with a whole bag of tricks here, so he's gonna keep looting. Still without an extra plate, so any battle could be a punishing one for Cams, and I think he's really respecting the fact that he is not in fighting form. And here's Crims right back in the action, and Cams, yeah, he's out of it. It's like, I don't want anything to do with this.
Yeah, what you said there about the play is very important because Cams now has to back off. He has no choice. Meanwhile, Crims had 18 plates in the back pocket, so he can keep on coming. I just like this play from Crims to hit the buy station. For me, you're finding yourself a couple of plates and trying to reset the situation. And, well, Breadman, he's back on his tower.
I mean, if there could have been some sort of like a bet the house that Breadman is going to be playing from high ground, I would have put all the real estate I own, which is not much, on that. So really smart stuff from Breadman, just casual, just trying to keep the scope hot here.
Looking out over the top of headquarters. J-Tech's going to take a lot of bullets, and I think that's actually from Skullface, unless there's a player in the tower there just over the top of him. Smoke will provide coverage. He is low on plates and needs to make the next gunfight or 2 work. We'll have company from player 9, you can see on your mini-map, but for now, just staying up. It's actually Shifty, another player that, you know, you put it on paper, you put a vote up on Twitter maybe, 1v1, who's winning that? But right now, you just can't back Shifty while his afternoon's gone. Nadag finds Limax inside of prison. And we're still only missing one player. It feels like through the afternoon, these games have slowed down, Jip.
I agree. When we first got on through Game 4, there were 5 team wipes in the first circle. And then all of a sudden, everyone who had not died lasted until we had no more respawns remaining. So, yeah, it definitely feels like there's been a little bit of a figuring out period, and especially now that they're in their last 4th and final drops for all these players of, okay, no reason to get too greedy early if things aren't going my way. Take your time, loot, find yourself a corner to work on, and then eventually maybe catch someone on rotation, which is essentially what Shifty has done here, just kind of continuing to play around Knight. That will confirm the elimination for his first so far in this final drop.
AJ makes noise and baits with it and will actually find a lot of damage onto Zix. And he's trying to just cut off the rotation, and that is fantastic stuff. That is the AJ that we've been talking about coming into this tournament. Puts himself onto 4 kills and has complete control over this region. But the problem is for him, next circle will squeeze him uphill, and we know that Shifty is just looking at the bottom.
And he wants this badly. That will play. Okay, just a little hip fire through the door. Okay, why not? I'm telling you, some of the environment in any COD, it just feels like it's made out of paper mache. Smith in a little bit of trouble here. Whoa, where is he? Yeah, okay. Patsuka nearly threw that one away. Was just the sneeze away from falling, but able to lock in the shots, find the kill, and at least give himself a little bit of breathing room. Intex nearby seems to think that he may be able to come up, and we haven't said his name once yet, so this would be maybe a chance for him to start popping off a little bit.
He hasn't done much. Patsuka here suspects there are players arriving and finds a portable radar. That could be huge. That'll provide him with the information that he needs. And there's a fight going on here on the very outskirts of the map. Rodrigo up against Believe. Rodrigo's forced to back on off, but Believe going to use that as a moment to pop out of smoke and allow himself to rotate on off from the beach. And Rodrigo's lost Believe completely here. Who spots who first? Who gets the information? And it will be Believe with a huge pick there. He was basically back against the wall, sat down there on the edge of the map. Should have well and truly been picked off by Rodrigo, but counters that beautifully.
Patsuka, again, continuing to find ways in this stage 2, 3 circles to find these kills. Smith, other side, just waiting for the proper time to jump on in and confirm. Important to note, Smith's on 2 kills. After we got through 5 total drops, Smith finds himself 3 in total, down from Vision in terms of total kills. So 1 more he'll tie, 2 more he will surpass as our current kill leader.
Which will be a hell of a story for Smith. He's had himself an up and down 2024. It felt like he got off to a great start, especially on Kazakhstan, and then unfortunately he had a bout of illness, and it just never seemed to bounce back from there. And well, what it would be to come out here day 1 of the Esports World Cup as the overall kill leader.
And I think the thing about it too is, you know, again, him playing alongside Aiden, they're not playing with their normal third, where they had a really good time at the World Series of Warzone NA Finals, top 5. Nothing to scoff at whatsoever, but yeah, being able to really kind of establish that I'm here for real could be massive for him. Smith getting to work, just laying things down. Not quite able to find the final shots needed, but it's fine. Holger's got plenty of ammo.
Just get a little wider look here at our map view. Feels like we are getting, again, another relatively central circle, maybe slightly northern there. Sure. So again, we're probably expecting a lot of people to be fighting over that central prison landmark, and Smith here going to find himself a UAV. Actually, has Bagel looking out over him, and sniper bullet whizzes over his head, and I think that's the right play. Yep. You do not want to be pushing yourself up a bottleneck into the scope of a sniper.
Yeah, window is closed for sure, especially with the smoke dissipating. Patsuka, the kill feed again. I'm telling you, man, there's something to keep an eye on here for the Spaniards, because Patsuka has played very well to this point. See if he can keep that up for the rest of the squad when they eventually find themselves in the overall group stage. But I gotta say, things that I'm seeing in the mid game have looked pretty darn decent. Smith in a little bit of trouble here, trying to climb the ramp back up towards the prison side, but overall, looks like he should be decently fine. And a lot of action here, actually, right over the top of Tommy, who's got people above him, around him, underneath him, all over the place.
Yeah, and it's an important couple of gunfights here as well, because the next circle is going to squeeze you and force you to rotate. So you want to make sure you're clearing this area as much as possible before you begin that rotation. Tommy's going to actually find Bagel, gets a lot of damage and a crack, but doesn't finish it off. Will actually get cracked himself, uses the skin to give himself that extra movement speed. He's up against Lennon, his teammate on teammate. It's Alula against Alula, and Lennon comes out on top. What do you do, though? You've got more company coming on through this backside. It's actually going to be Bagel around the corner, Raul as well, and the young man from the UK looking to lock in a couple of kills.
Yeah, Lennon's in a really good spot to try to finish this thing off. Smoke will be a bit of a deterrent. Bagel's just holding a corner. He's just playing pure COD timing. If someone crosses me, I hope I'm looking in the right way at the right time. That is all that is. As we head over in towards the actual cell area, of the prison block. Smith still on 2, looking to, again, get 3 to tie Vision's overall, or 4 to possibly take the overall kill spot leader.
Just breach and clearing. The one thing about this prison region, right? So many different places you can get shot from, especially here in solos. Trying to just press on through here as we get this wide shot. See, there's so many players. Zix takes damage. Plates will go in. But how does he get escape from here? He sees Believe below. I don't think Believe actually spots him, so that gives him an opportunity to escape. Does anyone actually chase after him here? The answer is no, but what he does find is some very valuable loot.
This is massive for him. He's got separation, he's got space, and now he is in absolutely prime form to get to the high ground. He could play on top of the rooftop if he wants to with all the loot he just kitted himself out with. So, could be an option for him as we start to close out this third circle. Believe working his way forward. Patsuka taken down as well in the same process as everyone's really trying to get to that top 30, which you do crack into. So again, that first multiplier step up now in play.
Smith here doing great work. He sets the C forward. He actually connects with it, but it's not going to do enough damage. It was a genius play. Bit 200 IQ. Unfortunately, he just takes too much damage on the first peak from Zix, who then manages to chase on after and clean things up. But honestly, nearly a 2,000 IQ from Smith, and showing why he is pushing for kill lead here.
And I think Smith just died a second and a half before respawns closed. So the timing, I was about to say, could have been ideal, but Prodigy does snipe him out of the sky. At least that would be the assumption with him dropping. So that's what, 3 kills. So he finds himself tied with Vision. Could be a possible overall tie as we depend on what happens with the overall score. And, well, we head back to Breadman. I feel like you could play like the girl from Ipanema right here. Just casual elevator music, Breadman getting to work on the sniper rifle.
I feel like that's exactly how he is most of the time. Just calm, casual, collected, doing his thing, doesn't really care about what's going on the map. He knows that he's good enough to do damage regardless. And actually spots Zepp across, but doesn't have any timing there. Launches out a C4 to potentially pick up someone below. We're going to get a shot here of King AJ, who has to make a hellish rotation. And he's going to come up against Abwiz potentially here, and actually checks on off towards the right. But anytime you push uphill towards this prison, you are asking for trouble.
Yeah, and he just uses the smoke to say, I know someone's near that, I'm not going to bother. And now he actually, I think, hears the footsteps and confirms that he's been able to find Abwiz. Clean shots from King AJ. That gives him now 6 total kills, plus a little bit of breathing room as he finds himself into the next circle.
I think one of the scary things here, especially if you are a Guild fan, as he checks away, that was a bit more scary. We'll come back to it, see if he survives. Well, what I was going to say is that he's actually lifting his average every single game. Yes. And again, the player that we spoke about, how good he can be, if he keeps on doing that, and he looks hot going into tomorrow's tournament.
The other part about this is, if I'm not mistaken, Twisted Minds have no more members on the field. And looking at the total scoreboard, Twisted Minds are at 108, Guild are at 95.9. So they have a huge opportunity here with the multiplier possibly getting into the top 5 to where they may actually take the #1 overall seed after all this is said and done.
Yeah, and what a statement that would be. I mean, we've harped on enough about the whole Falcons aren't performing conversation, but that opens up a window for everyone else. Speaking of which, we are down to our last 8. Circle closing here on 5th. Brolic trying to find AJ, who cooks a nade, tries to use it to cover his escape. And oh, if Brolic had hit that, that would have been something, but the Moors does not connect. AJ will escape. Guild continue to push for that top spot.
And this is a great position for Brolic to freely get into the next circle. So now this is about what can he find around the outsides before he has to give up the last remaining high ground onto this circle. AJ back up and over. Dealt with by the mines for just a moment, but largely unaffected. Stukix just below. Smoke trying to get him on the way in the circle, and AJ is just going to try to hold it.
Yeah, I think this is the perfect play. You're essentially covered by the smoke that Stukix puts out as well. The problem is, because Stukix has been patient here, AJ has lost him entirely, but will step up, will spot him, and will actually take more damage as well. So he's got to confirm, and then he's got to get himself this in. No ticks left in the gas mask, so no opportunity to run out there, even though the zone pull will be towards him. Oh my god, AJ! What did you just do? I think there was actually damage in the back of Joe from Biffle as well, but the fact that he's still alive is a miracle, and hits the snipe as well. Brolic then cleans that on up. We're down to our final 4. AJ here looking to cement top spot for Guild Esports.
He needs to make a decision, though. The circle's going to rotate down, but you're going to give up high ground because of it, and he rotates right into Biffle, who's waiting for him. Now, all of a sudden, 8 kills for Biffle. A chance for him to possibly breathe a little bit of life into Team Falcons here late. Brolic also on the low ground with him. 3v3. Thermite's out. Opening shots. Gets the tag and the break. The clean follow-up. Now it's just down to Breadman again from the high ground. Can Biffle reset this long enough? No, he cannot. And Breadman, who saw victory slip through his fingers in one of the most remaining games, closes it out here. And that's got to be confidence boosted to finish in the top 3 2 straight maps in a row.
Absolutely. I think there's a couple of confidence boosts that come on through, but definitely right about Breadman. Not only seeing out this map in particular, but also that his game plan's working. We keep making jokes about he's hitting the water tower, right? Just doing his thing, but to consistently place up towards the top here in solos, very, very difficult thing to do with everything that goes on the map. Get second in one, first in the other, showing why he is one of the best players in the world.
You want to really just cement it. Notwithstanding this personal drop, he has the top overall average finish next to Smit and Jackal. They both find themselves top 8. He's 8.66 average placement. But with that first, I can already guarantee you, he's going to be the top average placer in this solos competition through 4 drops.
Which is impressive in itself, but also the fact that, again, he spoke in his interview about how when he comes into trios, when he's looking to provide support to Joel, Foreign Jace, he's going to play that water tower. He's going to look out over them from there. So, you know, whatever's working today, whatever's going on today, it just reinforces that their game plan and that they have a game plan for starters is a great thing. Looking forward to the rest of this tournament.
Lots of things for us to consider in terms of narrative talking points. Puckett's having a good time out in the stands. Of course he is. If there's one thing you can guarantee about MLG Puckett, he's going to have a lot of fun, no matter where he finds himself. So it's always a pleasure to see him enjoying it from the comfort of course, this incredible stage here at STC. What you got?
I think one of the things to talk about is the fact that Biffle comes in second there, right? I think that was a little bit of a reminder at the end. Okay, this hasn't been our day, but there's not a chance that I'm going out quietly. Just puts himself in a spot there where he picks up quite a few kills. I mean, I think the actual kill he picks up on AJ, I don't think he has much in the way of loot. He just plays very intelligently around the zone that he has. So, you know, the fact that he's picking up second there, it hasn't been their afternoon for sure. We're still expecting them to be very strong in this tournament.
Yep.
I think right at the end there, that'll be okay, I think we figured out the jitters.
Yeah, I think especially from the individual standpoint, right? I mean, again, not to just throw it away, because seeding, I think, will matter.
Yes,
I think it gets you into a position to where you don't have to fight up against other very strong teams. Falcons, I don't think, really care who they play up against, so the seeding conversation is not nearly as important to them as it is to some of our, well, I don't want to say bubble teams, but squads that could be labeled as maybe a dark horse, to maybe an upset candidate. So when you deal with teams like Cloud9, teams like Guild, this has been great news for them overall. But like you mentioned, a little bit of a, okay, let's not sweat too much here, guys, if you're a Falcons squad member.
Oh, definitely not. And we do get to see the end of this. And Breadman just pushes up on the third party, right? It is classic Warzone. It's essentially trying to repeat what he did in the last map, except this time he actually wins the gunfight and just about sees it off. The fact that Biffle nearly actually manages to snap onto that one as well just shows you the level of technical skill he brings to these.
It's a little bit of extra finesse, my man. We're going to see a lot of that when we get to trios as well, just bait and switching for your squad mates, things of the nature. But when you can do it in a 1v everyone situation, it always feels a little bit better. For Breadman, like I said, we don't know for sure, but I'm going to go ahead and say that he is probably going to be our best average placer. Just comes down to what the final standings eventually will look like, and I know some people who are best at breaking that down, and it's Taylor and the gang down in the analyst studio.
Right, a big compliment from Shift. I like it. He's coming around to us, which is always a great thing. No, seriously, Enigma Shift, great cast from all the casters. Incredible job today. So many good moments. And, man, Breadman, I can't believe it. Getting the job done after second place from last game. Breadman, he's dynamic.
Look, I mean, C9, they're showing up today, especially towards the end there. Breadman, he starts off with a little bit of a dynamic day, you know, playing really well, making it far, taking down Shifty in a big 1v1, moves back over to the water tower with the sniper, and we're like, okay, you're slowing down a bit. I don't know if this is the play, but you're getting kills. And as soon as he leaves the tower in the last game, he comes out with a win on the day. And I think that is huge for C9 because although, you know, C9, there's a ton of good teams here. We see that a win is going to shoot them up in the standings for this solo day, and they were not far from the top.
Yeah, and I mean, to top with that, with C9 being that such a big talking point, I mean, what? We haven't seen C9 in Call of Duty, at least for me. I think it was, what, IW 2016? Been a while, right? 2017. For them, I was actually telling production, hold on. Breadman's on this side, like you had mentioned, but Jolo was on the other side playing, right? And that one little chase moment moment where we're like, okay, he's going, and then, oh, the turn on happened, but he did get tagged up. You saw, I believe it was King AJ and Biffle that shot at him, so it's like, ooh, maybe that chase. It could have been a 1v1 C9 moment, though. How awesome would that have been?
It would have been awesome. But also for King AJ, let's talk about how awesome he was. Infinity, I could not believe the plays he was making.
Yeah, absolutely. Little turn on towards the end as well. Why the hell not, you know? Look, at the start of the day, I promised a King AJ special. He delivered a full 5-course meal. This guy is insane, King AJ. I'm glad he finally proved that towards